This is the Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. What's going on, Sham?
Not much, chilling on a Tuesday night.
I was about to say Tuesday, and a big night for us. Why is it a big night, Sham?
It's our Centennial episode.
All right. Hey, look, you know what? We can save some time. We don't even got to worry about a title. This Centennial. That'll take off like 2 days out of our week right there.
And no title to figure out. 100. So
that's
yeah,
awesome, man. I'm really excited. Big ride. By the way, no, you know what? I'll save that for later. But I've just really enjoyed the ride. Every time we hit these benchmarks, I just reflect on how far we've come, where we've come from episode 1 to 100, episode 0 to 100.
Ground
it's
zero.
Been a great ride. And, you know, the way the show continues to evolve, we talked about some things now that I think will have a ripple effect and an evolution on the show. So I'm just excited for the next 100 and 200. Every time we reach these benchmarks, I try to give benchmarks for you so that you never see a light at the end of this tunnel. That's my point. So I'll be like, yo, 900 more. And it's like, really?
That's blasphemous.
Really? Yikes. So, but very excited. And I think the show tonight will reflect that, the balance we've come to, and we're still growing, but I just love every minute of it. It's been great. How about you? No, I'm joking.
You know, I have a love-hate relationship with you and this podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, me, the podcast likes.
Like, I was slightly distracted because I got a text from my aunt who just showed me a picture of her winning lottery ticket. So
that's awesome.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And we went into great detail about my lottery habits a couple episodes ago.
You're taking the listeners further into your little world.
But yeah, you know, it's happened like so fast. Like, it doesn't seem like we've been doing this long enough to have 100 episodes, and actually more than 100 because we've done a couple bonuses. But like, definitely, the true episodes have been 100, and you know, we've had some good people come on with us. We've had Reese Waters, who is national person. We've had 2 NFL players. You know, we've had a councilman. And then we've just had time to grow personally and professionally as podcasters, you know? I think about where we started and, you know, when we were compiling this thing and like, well, how are we going to do this? And how are we going to do that? We kind of like made a way for ourselves, just kind of piecing it together and figuring it out. Yeah. And here we are in over 50 countries. We have listeners all over the world. So
absolutely. We got a family. A big one. It's awesome. Yeah. So no, we thank you guys for coming along with us on this journey. And I was halfway joking. I don't see light at the end of the tunnel is a bad word because it makes it look like we're in a tunnel and it's a bad place. So I say I don't see it in line, man. We're just gonna continue to have fun and run this thing, run this string, play this music. Insert metaphor. How's your week been?
It's been very chill. I mean, because it's only been like a couple of days since our last episode with Tim Jacobs. Again, we want to thank him for coming on.
Absolutely.
Not much has moved. Just been getting my classes in order, trying to get my my IT program started. So that's going to be a little bit of a journey. But nothing much outside.
Congratulations on that. Point of order, though. I think for our listeners, they won't see much of a gap, but I really feel like I haven't talked to you. I mean, we've been talking, we communicate all the time, but I'm talking about talk to you in like a week and a half. So we're only midway through this week. But yeah, you're running your weeks together. Time is really flying. We've been more than a couple of days. As a matter of fact, it's been longer than it normally would be.
Well, no, I'm saying it's only been a couple of days since this week has started. But
calendar wise.
Right. Gotcha. Calendar wise. It's only Tuesday. Yeah. So
yeah.
But
Yeah, I wanted to catch up from the last time we were on the show. Now, every single thing that happened in your life.
And I know that's why I kind of compartmentalized the two as I was going through. But yeah, not much, not very much. I was talking to you earlier about my DIY project. Mm-hmm. I ordered a wine cabinet. It was white on the screen. It said it was gray, but the picture was like kind of like a light gray. But when I got it, it was a full on charcoal. Yeah. So I went on HomeDepot.com, got me a paint sprayer. So I'm going to just spray it white so it matches the rest of my kitchen.
And most of the time when Sham is telling her stories, I have to envision what's happening. And she does a good job of giving us that imagery. But she was able to actually show me, yeah, she was wrong here. Tremendously. They sold her a false bag of goods. What they showed her was not white. And she wanted white.
So, no, it wasn't gray. That joint was.
So, yeah, I'm wearing something gray, and I was like, that is less gray. That is more gray than what I'm wearing. So I was on the verge of writing her letter for her, but I'll let her go ahead and do that on her own. As for me, the week has been really, really good. Continuing, my vaccination campaign on my own, and then also got a couple loved ones vaxxed for reasons that I think are clear. I think a lot of people don't want to go into whether they've been vaccinated or not. So I'm not going to compromise them, but I've been able to get friends and family see them get vaccinated. So what's been a beautiful thing is people were like, so Sham, I must really have been going ham about this. Like, I know I keep saying it, but I must have really, because people are like checking in with me. Like, I just want you to know I've been vaxxed, okay? Like, and I didn't even think I was bothering them, but they must have just caught the heat from it. Like, just before you even bring it this way, like, I got my vaccination, so just leave me alone.
You have literally kirked out on this here podcast about vaccinations. I'm sure your friends have heard it, and they're like, you know what? Let me just tell them I got it.
Yeah, let me break it down before he brings it to me. And make things uncomfortable. Now we'll talk about it a little bit in the news. How that has borne out. This is one of the few times I didn't purposely save this for the show. I was gonna talk to you about it when we were talking before, but you and I know collectively a bunch of people that treated last weekend like it was nothing. So most of them have gotten vaxxed. Okay, most of the people we know. Collectively speaking, I could think of like 7 to 8 people that hung out together, like on downtown this weekend. And they hit me from there that we both know, like chilling, like it was pre-COVID. And that's kind of how means. And that's kind of how DC was carrying it this weekend. It wasn't as bad as Miami a couple weeks ago, but it was like it was getting to pre-COVID levels in terms of just how the weekend was. And the weather was nice.
DC wasn't like, hold my beer. They were just like, we just gonna chill out here.
Open up. Exactly. and like I said, people were hitting me from like, yo, we're down here right now. It's like, wow, I haven't gotten a text like this since 2019. And you guys are really, And I think it's a reflection of, and look, again, not on an individual basis, but collectively, it's a reflection of a lot of the attitude where people are in terms of the vaccine for good or for ill. And we'll talk about that. But
that's not what that means. It doesn't mean you're free to just roam the streets because you got vaccinated.
Yeah, and I've still been in the house. Well, number one, because I haven't got my second one yet. But even beyond that, after that, I certainly not just hitting the streets like hard like that. That's not going to happen. So other than that, work is always good and things are just good. Just enjoying life. So.
All right.
Well, that was an upbeat note, but I mean, most of the time when we start the news, we have to start with serious stuff. And this is serious. So
before we get into the seriousness, let's remind everybody where they can
episode
find
100. Episode 100, you would think I will figure this out by now. Why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find it so we can have another at 100?
Going into 101, we would like to have more listeners. So why don't you tell a friend? You can visit us at www.stopplayingpodcast.com. Scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see all the podcast platforms that we're available on, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and our host network, Podbean. Also, you can reach us on YouTube at our Stop Playing Podcast channel, and on Facebook and Instagram at the Stop Playing Podcast, and at Twitter at Stop_Playing Pod. And if you have any ideas, suggestions, and topics that you would like us to discuss on this podcast, please email us at info@stopplayingpodcast.com.
Absolutely. And we love you guys' interaction when we post our stories. You guys have been great.
Yeah, you had the Texas folk all riled up.
Yeah, I kind of that was borderline trolling. Texas, man. I love the interaction with you guys.
I was proud.
Yeah. So on a more serious note, we have the trial of Officer Derek Chauvin, ex-officer Chauvin, underway in Minnesota. So, obviously this is for the murder of George Floyd. Last time we really talked about this, we were still in the middle of jury selection. So obviously that's been concluded. Opening statements were this week. Because of, I'm working at home, and most of the time my day at home, I have the TV on, but I have it on mute. So I usually just run like news networks and see stories go by or what have you. So I'm saying all that to say I can't really watch the trial, because even though they were showing it like that, if I were to turn it on, I would get engrossed to get distracted. So I'm more like getting updates at the end of the day. So have you been able to follow it so far?
Yeah, trials bore me. Honestly, like
you said that before.
Yeah, people find that funny because I've been in a legal career for about 20 years.
Right.
But trial was never my favorite. Mm-hmm. And I've seen like news reports. Like I saw the girl who shot the video. I heard some of her testimony, mm-hmm. and and the 9-year-old girl that was there who gave mm-hmm. her testimony. That was kind of chilling. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I don't know much of what's going on.
So I got a quick nugget. Another friend of ours, he watched all of it today, like basically. So today they had one of the EMT people who arrived, right? Like you said, 911. Well, no, okay. I want to differentiate. There was the 911 operator.
Mm-hmm. The person who took the call.
Took the call.
Yeah.
Right. But also today, the EMT worker, one of them. Mm-hmm. Now, the only nugget I got up from this is apparently there was a lot of smoke coming from that chair from her, especially when the defense came up there and was questioning her credentials and the assertions she was making about, how George Floyd was killed and what caused it. And I guess she felt like her professionalism and everything's being questioned to the point, Shan, from what I understand, where the judge had to basically like stop the trial, excuse the jury. And she was getting so antagonistic with the defense lawyer that she was like, listen, the judge was like, it is his job to ask these questions. Like, mm-hmm. basically like you're taking it personally, but mm-hmm. he has to, chip away, if not at your credibility, at the credibility of your statement. So mm-hmm. don't take it like and she was getting mad with the judge. Like, look, I'm just trying to make sure that he was like, listen, I get it, but you have to answer these questions. Like,
that's why it's important to prep people before they get up there. Like, mm-hmm. if that's her reaction, then who prepped her? Like nobody? They just like let her just go up there? Like, well, I don't know. I was always trained to just be like, yes, no, yes, no. Sure. No
some
more,
people
no
too
less.
Emotional though. You could do all the prep in the world and be like, hey, they're gonna ask you some questions, there's gonna be whatever. But then some people get in their feelings and get up there. It sounded like that's what happened with her.
Yeah, so that's why mock trials are important, boys and girls.
Very much so. There's that. But I mean, look, we're in the beginning stages of this thing. The only other thing I want to ask you about it, a lot of people, when George Floyd, when this happened last year, it just kind of like it happened, and then it immediately caused this firestorm. It immediately caused protests. To the point where I didn't really realize it even at the time, but a lot of people just didn't watch the video when it happened. They just basically took the information they were given
Mm-hmm.
The description was good enough for them. Especially a lot of Black people didn't want to see that. We had already seen a bunch
Black men did not want to see it.
We had already seen all these videos before, you know, Ma Aubrey and everything else. I mean, we can't even go down the list. But so what I found on social media today was a lot of people, you know, because as part of the opening statements, as part of the beginning of the trial, they showed the videos again, and they showed different versions and longer versions and stuff. And people were like, this is my first time seeing it, and I'll never watch it again. Or people like me who had seen it was like, man, and, you know, I said it on our last show, man, that never gets easy to watch ever. So, you know, it had been a while since I saw it, like I said, but a lot of people had not, period. And this was their first time watching it, which I found incredible. Because these were people who participated in the protests and all that. But you don't have to see the video to know what happened. It drives the point home, but you don't have to.
Yeah, I never saw the whole thing. I saw clips that were shown on the news, or like clips that just kind of came up through my news feed on Instagram or Facebook. Never really watched the whole thing. Didn't need to. I think that was enough. And I feel like maybe a lot of people felt that way. I wonder what Derek Chauvin sees when he watches it. Does he see a man murdering somebody, or does he see a person doing his job? Because, you know, Chicago PD, which, you know, I like my one Chicago Wednesday. And they did an episode a couple weeks ago that was similar, like not the choking part, but like, you know, a cop profiling Black man, hands up, not doing anything wrong. And he just killed him at point blank, you know.
He shot him.
Shot him. It was a routine traffic stop. And he got out, you know, he's like, I'm not, you know, hands were up. He never moved his hands. And he said he feared for his life. So he shot him. And I know this is fiction, but it's imitating life. And the officer felt like he was in the right to do so because he feared for his life, even though the guy did not have a weapon, did not reach for a weapon, totally complied, just basically stood there. And it makes me wonder if Derek Chauvin feels like he was right to do what he did, like he was well within his purview.
I mean, he had to. And I think he still does. Somebody told me they were watching his demeanor, and he didn't. I mean, look, he's in court, so he's been prepped. But I mean, when you watch him doing the film, I mean, you got all these people. It's not, you know, shooting someone is a quick act. This took a long time. Yeah. And his demeanor during
8 minutes and 42 seconds.
Exactly. And when you're watching him, I mean, people were sitting there standing around screaming, you're killing him, you're killing him, you're killing him, let him up, this and that. And he's just kind of like, no, this is correct, and I'm fine. And I think there were times he would be kind of, if not giving orders, I don't know if he was the actual supreme officer on the scene, but it seemed like he was. He was kind of giving direction to some of the other ones as his foot or as his knee was still on George Floyd's neck. Like, okay, make sure we get this and that, whatever. So, I mean, he was just nonchalant. I think he thinks he did the right thing. I think if you were to get him without any consequences to tell what his feelings are about this, he would say, you know what, this is cancel culture overdrive to the extreme, and all these other Black people got shot, and I'm not racist. And the guy was, you guys don't know what happened before the video. He was resisting arrest, and I had to put him down. And it's unfortunate that he died. I think that's exactly what he was saying. And I didn't murder anyone. And would move on like that. But, and Sharon, if you don't mind, I'm actually going to grab an item out of the grab bag because I didn't think about it at the time, but might as well go ahead and tie it into this one. Tamiya Rice, have you been following this? His mother? Okay. So Tamiya Rice's mother, this is actually related to the Grammys. This ties back to that. So during the Grammys, and I forget who performed, but there was a performance. So you watched old Grammys, right?
I still haven't watched it.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
It's
all
fine.
Right. Well, I'm relying on you to give me facts about the story I just pulled up. But the long and short of it is that Tamiya Rice's mother has felt that the Black Lives Matter movement, she called them out specifically, as well Tamika as these attorneys. Yes. And Tamika Mallory and Sean King and some of these other prominent figures, whether he's a writer, but all these figures have hijacked the narrative surrounding her son's death and a lot of these other police shootings. And she literally said the words, doing this for clout.
Oh,
and
clout.
She kind of went off during the Grammys when Tamika Mallory, because I don't know exactly how it was, but there was a performance. I forget who the artist was. And then she interrupted it. It was a planned interruption to do a spoken word piece about all of this. So all of that happened on the Grammys. So during the Grammys, as she's watching this, Miss Ray, Lil Baby, thank you. Mm-hmm. She tweets out a firestorm. And I mean, she
had a whole
cussing and all that. I mean, now they got a statement later. She and I forget who else's mother is, two mothers with this, but cussing and all that. I mean, she was like, just whatever. Read the statement, but basically, like, yeah, they're doing this for clout. Now, in the statement later on, she was citing that there was money that hasn't been provided to them. She opened a center for Tamiya Rice. And now I was a little unclear whether she was saying, she opened the center and it has expenses, so people just haven't been looking out for it, or if there was an actual concrete promise of money that she never got. The other mother did get
$5,000. That was she's saying that $5,000 was raised for Richard Risher. That's Lisa Simpson, the mother of Richard Risher. She's saying that there was $5,000 raised for her son's funeral and she never received one penny.
Never got it.
Now, what Samaria Rice is saying is that, look, you guys are out here parading around, doing all these fundraising events, performing under the guise of, finding justice for our sons and everything. But I have this foundation, the Tamiya Rice Foundation. Whatever money y'all are getting for all of this stuff, you're not sending a penny to us. Like, they're out here screaming racial injustice, say their names, all this stuff. But the families of those people's names that they're saying are not benefiting from any of that. Like, they feel like if they're going to go out here and use their children's likenesses and their names and stuff, that some of that should come back to the foundations that they set up and to those kids, instead of just them just running around saying their names and performing in concerts. Yeah.
So this is a prickly issue. And one that we don't really even have time we could spend a whole show just on that. It is hard because when you have these mothers and they're giving you their real emotions about how they feel their children's death has been treated, you can't possibly say, well, you're wrong about that. You can't. No. This is how they feel about it. At the same time, if you're someone like Tamika Mallory, who I liked some of what she said, look, if you're talking about the whole general movement and how things may have gotten away from where, you felt they may have been, fine. She said, but you came at me specifically, and I have never even anybody. She said, I do not mention a family or a name unless I am working with them, which I think is a very good policy. So if she wants to talk about a general movement of social justice, just because she's a prominent figure in that movement doesn't mean that she's personally disregarding individuals within that movement and their families.
Exactly. She has every right to say that. She's an activist. Right. Black Lives Matter is not her movement, but she's an activist that has attached herself to it, just like she attaches herself to other
causes.
Thank you. So if anything, if you're gonna go after Black Lives Matter, you need to go to the source, the person who started the movement and who is now the president, I guess, founder and president of Black Lives Matter. I don't know if, obviously I agree with Tamika Mallory. Don't come at me because I've never had any personal conversations with you. That type of thing. It's emotions running high, wanting to find somebody to blame. But if you're going to find somebody to blame the right person.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell them that. And it's hard to put that out in public, because then no matter what, when you respond, you look like you're going back and forth with the mother of a murdered child. That is a no-win situation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know how I am. I can't have something be said about me, especially in public, that's not true. Mm-hmm. I can't without defending it. So, and it's unfortunate because it just looks ugly. So to tie it back to where we were, here we are a year later from George Floyd. This stuff is ongoing all the time. But it's hard to see these things play out, especially when you still have outside forces in the country who want to undermine everything that Black Lives Matter stands for, everything that Tamir Rice's life meant, or George Floyd and all that. When you have these internal problems coming up publicly, it's going to be that much harder to get the change that we want out of these situations. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's just, it's ugly. And it's hard and it's sad. Man, speaking of ugly, Shan, we've been seeing this train coming.
Yep.
So the Voting Rights Act. Now, look, this is Georgia, right? So like everybody's doing it, but Georgia's the centerpiece. So
they
Georgia,
mad. They big mad. They got flipped.
Big dumb mad. I wouldn't be surprised. Kelly Loeffler has a lot of money, so I wouldn't be surprised if like she put all her little resources behind this. They basically passed the voting rights bill in Georgia. Governor Kemp, who shouldn't even be there in the first place, signed this law under a painting of a plantation with a bunch of white men standing around him. So some of the highlights of this law, they're going to shorten hours, especially on weekends, for voting. They're going to tighten the restrictions on mail-in balloting. Shan, my favorite part about that, they ran a clip of Governor Kemp himself casting a mail-in ballot.
As they how it always works.
Exactly.
Don't do it. Don't do as I say. Do as I don't do as I do. Do as I say.
Do as I say. And a big thing is they're going to make it illegal, completely illegal, to provide food and water to people who are waiting in line.
Just be out here dying. We don't care.
Exactly.
Maybe you'll die before you get inside, so we won't have to take your vote.
Exactly. Or you'll get tired of waiting to go home, which is exactly what we want. So, look, this is voter suppression. We all know it. Governor
Just
Kemp,
bring picnic baskets.
Exactly. Governor Kemp supports this, of course, because he knows Stacey Abrams is coming back for him, probably. And he wants to suppress those votes just like he did last time. And they all big mad that she was able to raise all that those votes before to get Warnock and all them in there. And one of the other things they did, it's not overtly in the law, but the execution of the law is such that they're taking power away from Gabriel Sterling, whose name I could never get right, but he deserves to have his name right. The voting chair or whatever, and Raffensperger, who 45 called, threatened on that phone call. Mm-hmm. They're having their powers taken out of their hands because none of the Republicans down there like how they handled the election, which of course means they handled it accurately and fairly. And so they're like, nah, enough of that. Y'all supposed to throw votes away. Y'all didn't do that. So we'll take this operation over from now on. Thank you. So that's a lot of what it did. Thoughts on that? I mean, we're going back to the 50s.
I mean, they're trash. That's my only thought. It's just trash.
It's absolute trash. So now something that we both have touched on, but then the last time we touched on it, you brought it up as it pertains. We were mostly talking about sports, and this is sports related, mm-hmm. but it's really more politics. So just like the Voting Rights Act, where all these Republican legislatures act like there's literally nothing else going on, no pandemic, no anything else. These are their priorities: voting rights and what we're about to talk about next, transgender. So what Georgia is doing for voting rights, being a trailblazer, South Dakota, and my favorite governor, Chrissy Teigen, they're doing for transgender. So this story is interesting on a lot of levels. The bill itself was going to officially ban transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. And you gave an eloquent breakdown 2 shows ago now, about why it's a double standard. It's results oriented, what they're trying to do. And it's completely hypocritical and awful. All right.
I mean, because again, this is not about transgender athletes. It's about mm-hmm. transgender girls.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the boys are fine. If you're a girl and you want to be and you are transitioning to a boy, they don't care if you play sports. But if you're a boy and you're transitioning to a girl, they care. And it's bullshit.
Yeah. So they were all on the same bullshit train, though. Chrissy Teigen in the legislature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Chrissy Teigen, in her one moment of like semi-clarity, was like, listen, we're going to have to tweak this because the NCAA is not going to allow this. And the NCAA made it known to them. They were like, remember a couple of years ago when North Carolina tried to pass that law about transgender bathrooms, and we told them we would rip the tournament out of there?
And they did.
They
ripped the All-Star game out of there too.
We will do the same kind of stuff with you. The NBA did it, yeah. They said we would do the same kind of stuff with y'all if y'all passed this. And Chrissy Teigen understood that's money on the table. They have stuff up there in South Dakota with the NCAA, a lot of big stuff that I saw. So she said, look, we need to at least tweak this so that we don't lose this in court. And if the NCAA sues us, or if they try to do this, maybe we could sue them. Legislature was like, look, so none of this was moral. She morally still goes with this, but she was just like, we want to win this. We need to tweak it. The legislature was like, nah. The Republicans was like, nah, forget the NCAA. Let's roll over them. Whatever. So lost, to the end of it, what she ended up doing was passing an executive order.
Mm-hmm.
So she tweaked it the way she wanted to do it. It still accomplishes the same goal. But the reason I like this story is because this is how like tunnel focus a lot of the GOP is on hate. They could be on the same side with her, but because she didn't do exactly what they wanted to do, now she's their public enemy number one. Even though she did the end result, she didn't do it exactly the way they wanted to do it, and they want to roll over the NCAA. So now she didn't all her little ignorant moves that she used to build up her little credibility with her little audience. Boom, poof, gone in flames. She has to work her way back up again. Just because of this.
She didn't really do anything to help. So this is what I don't understand. She says the tweet goes, only girls should play girl sports.
Right.
Which is a statement in itself. And she tries to say it's because she wants to protect the fairness from K through 12 and another in college athletics.
Mm-hmm.
But the NCAA doesn't like discrimination at all against transgenders.
Correct.
So this does not help the cause. All it does is give, like you said, the GOP what they want in South Dakota. And she loses her support, again, like you said. This does not help her cause to get the NCAA to want to do tournaments there because they're not here for it.
She thought she was being too cute by half. She thought that she could navigate a little line in the middle where she could still get her money and keep her. No, this blew up in her face. Yeah, she's an idiot. I mean, this is point blank.
And ain't nobody going to South Dakota to watch no games.
Right. Ironically, you know what? I heard there was a fire around Mount Rushmore because that's the only reason people would go up there, and they had to put that out yesterday. So that shut down tourism. But yeah, so that's what's going on, and that's
why they put Mount Rushmore in South Dakota to get people to go there. Otherwise, they're never going to visit there.
Who will go there? But that's a microcosm of the transgender bill all over the country. These legislatures are pushing this up. Either voting rights or transgender, first item on any Republican agenda around the country. You would think there's nothing else going on. So that is what they are doing.
Yeah, just screwing up kids' sports.
Screwing up kids' sports and racism. I mean, Republican plate. Republican menu. All right. So we got a couple mixed bags. Man, speaking of racism, the stupidity of this story, though.
This right here.
It's legit. Okay. So this story flows like this, y'all. In California, a teacher set up a meeting with a parent and a student, a science teacher. So the backstory of this is that ever since California and this school district went to virtual learning, apparently this young man who's Black, I believe he's in middle school, has been struggling to keep up with the work, and his grades have suffered and stuff like that. So the purpose of this Zoom call was to get the science teacher, the young man's mother, and the student on the call, get them on the same page, figure this out. And actually, apparently, that happened. They did that. They met. I believe they even did some assignments on this call and did some stuff and caught him up. Before what we're about to say happened, the mother was feeling good. Like, you know what? We've kind of figured this out and, you know, some tools are helping them move forward. Apparently, so the call ostensibly ends. And Sham, you and I can talk about Zoom. We do the show on Zoom and we do stuff on Zoom.
I got me some Zoom stock too.
Right. And then you stop hitting record and we go off and then we talk. Mm-hmm. But we both understand when stuff is happening in Zoom. Whatever. There have been times we've had guests and then the guest leaves and we still talk. We know they're gone. Mm-hmm. This teacher apparently thought that the student and his mother were gone off the call. Now, the detail I haven't gotten, and it's ironic because I sent you the story, so maybe you saw what I didn't. I sent somebody else and they said it. I got the impression that the teacher then stays on the Zoom and is talking to somebody like in her house or something. Her husband.
She's talking So the way that she even ended up on the Zoom call with the mom of the student was that she had called the mom, and she says this in her rant, that she had been calling the mom for about a year trying to get her son in line. Mm-hmm. And the only reason the mom called her back is because she thought that she was calling her friend Natalie. So... the teacher, it was accidental that she even called the teacher back. So she calls the teacher and she's like, "Hey, Natalie." And she's like, "Who? I'm not Natalie. This is whatever her name is." And then she's like, "Oh." So she kind of forced her into that conversation about her son. And that's how they ended up on the Zoom. So the Zoom is over. And then she thought she hung up and she's like going on this rant to her husband, talking about, it took me a year to get her on the phone. And the only reason she got me on the phone, I only got her on the phone because she thought I was her friend Natalie. I'm not Natalie. And she was like, and this is how Black people are. And the son is Black. And then she was just going on a rant to her husband. And you hear, and I listened to the audio.
Oh, see, I did not listen to the audio. I need to.
Yeah, I listened to the audio. You hear her husband replying and like, saying something Black? In the background. No, he it's funny because when I heard him talking, he didn't seem comfortable with the conversation. So I'm gonna send you the link to what I heard. Okay. But it's on YouTube. Yeah. But she just going on and on about how crazy it was that she couldn't get in contact with the mother. And I got her now. And this is how Blacks do. And she was like, well, white people do it too, but not as much as Blacks do.
I'm sorry. Stuff like that. My first reaction is to laugh like, yo, ma'am, you are out of control.
But when I was like listening to her rant and stuff, I had to chuckle at that part too, because I'm not going to, we can't sit here and act like it's not a double standard, because sometimes we be like, oh, that's some white shit right there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I said it on the show. I say it on the show all the time.
All the time. We be like,
when white people do white people stuff, I'm going to say it.
Yeah, that's some white shit. You
know, they're the oppressor. White people, our white audience, y'all the oppressor. Listen, double standard. Yeah, there's a lot of double standards. Y'all got the advantage of the double standard department. Let us have our jokes. Okay?
Right. And racism is not for you, it's for us.
No, right. Like I forgot
we are the oppressed group. You are not.
If you want the ability to make jokes, trade all your money, power, and everything else with us. And then you can do all the jokes you want. It'll be an
even playing field. Yeah. But you're not gonna do that. So get rid of white supremacy, and then we can all joke on each other.
Exactly. Hey Sham, or on the humble, will you send me the link or whatever later on? I wonder if that husband was doing what I mean. Look, speaking of making assumptions. Gender assumptions, what guys do with their booze complaining while at work, like, oh, word, okay, yeah, sounds crazy. You know what I'm saying? He probably sit there, she's like, yeah, I've been trying to get her for you. He sit there reading the paper, watching TV or something, like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, I got you. And then to your point, he probably there are times, I would just say it, fellas, y'all know this is true. When Bay is going on her little rant, and you want to jump in there and say, okay, well, first of all, should you even be saying this on Zoom? But you don't want to get that heat. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why don't you turn the Zoom off? But it's like, man, she's just going hot right now. I would just let her go. She knows what she's doing. I bet you the husband right there was like, yo, I meant to tell you to turn that damn computer off. Okay. Like, why don't you calm down?
But this went on for a half hour. And what's crazy about it is
she must have been big mad.
She was big mad. It went on for 30 minutes. But the mother was sitting, just listening, never responded.
Just listening.
And she pulled out her phone and recorded the audio.
That part
right?
I read. Yes.
And while she was recording the audio, she was also alerting the school. See, multitasking at its finest. And then the school, she was still on the ramp as the school was like.
They called her. Like, man, like, yo, what are you? It's come to our attention. You out here saying racist stuff. Is that true? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, we're being real. It come to our attention right now, like 15 minutes ago.
Like, you are still on this Zoom.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, chill. We're trying to be polite. Basically, she just dimed you. She's listening right now.
Right now. Like, but apparently she had been sending a string of emails to her colleagues too.
That's the other thing.
About the mom and her lack of communication and all that type of stuff. And then saying also more denigrating things in the email. So, and look, they tried to contact her, media outlets tried to contact her. She was like, nah, I ain't saying shit. Nope. And she just like quit her job. Like, they put her on administrative leave, but she was just like, nah, I'm done.
And they said they couldn't conduct an investigation because she quit. I'm like, I didn't know that's how investigations work.
It's not how
yes,
they
you
work.
can.
But, but she's been highly uncooperative. So
yeah, and that's fine. So she didn't cooperate with the investigation. Still do the investigation. If she sent emails, find the emails. Now they say she didn't.
You got the tape.
Yeah, you got the tape. And to the mother's point, because the mother's suing now.
Yeah.
She's like, okay,
liability.
Right. And she's like, look, if she's sending emails, I mean, she obviously felt comfortable enough to send them to her peers. So her peers feel this way too. This is why how can I feel comfortable with my son going to school there if I know that this woman had these thoughts, sent them out, no one said anything.
Right. The peers didn't turn her in.
Yeah. So clearly they feel the same way. They just didn't say it. Now, all that. So this woman deserves everything she got. Sham, I do need to know if it's true that she tried to call her for a year. And you know, if it's an accident that she called her back or whatever, I need to know the backstory about that. A teacher's trying to reach you about your child for a year and accidentally getting you on the phone. Doesn't excuse racism, but man, I'm gonna need you to check that outrage until you tell me why you didn't respond to that teacher's call.
Right. That part.
Now, if you could tell me that, then we good. Because if my mom got one call from my school,
listen,
it's like for any reason. The first thing she was doing, looking at me like, what are they calling me about? You know what I'm saying? And honestly, that happened to me. It was a good call, but I didn't know. And I was scared to death until we went up there. So no, like I do need to look, we talk about double standards all the time. We'll move on because, you know, when you tell a story, if you're gonna expose this woman needs to be exposed. She doesn't need to be teaching. But you gotta tell the whole story. Is it true that teacher called you for a year to try to get you to have a now, if the context of that is, yeah, I had some conversations with her before and she's been on stuff like this and I just didn't report it and I just didn't feel it was conductive. Well, that doesn't really rhyme with you doing a Zoom call with it all. So I just need it explained. Like, yeah. So that's I think that's just, we gotta keep ourselves honest and accountable. But you got a more fun story for us though, school-wise. Let's get our favorite state. Back in the news.
Yes. Florida. Gotta love Florida. So I want to say it was on Thursday, March 18th. Okay. An announcement came over the school radio about a fight happening outside the cafeteria at about 12:15 p.m. A school safety officer arrived at the scene and found Edith Riddle, 34 years old, fighting a student at the school. What type of school was this, Shaka? I'm glad you asked. A middle school.
My God, ma'am. And keep going.
So apparently some kid was messing with her daughter. This kid's probably like 12 or 13 years old. And instead of showing her daughter how to handle it, Edith decides she's going to push the girl to the ground and just wail on her, just punching the crap out of her. And then...
But she prepared for the fight, right, Shan?
Oh, yeah. She took some boxing classes. And actually, she brought the boxing gloves with her.
Thank you.
Put them on. So
that shows me she didn't want to hurt her.
Oh no. Yeah. She didn't want to hurt her for real. She just wanted to give her a couple of abrasions. But
she that type of crazy where you're like, yo, why did you take the box of gloves to the school? Well, because it's a child.
Want to hurt my hands.
Yeah, or either that or because it's a child. I didn't want to hurt them. Ma'am, you shouldn't be fighting them. You want to take the box of gloves as a precaution? Like, you're a grown woman. By the way, I didn't check her age until you said it. That life has been hard for her.
Yikes. Yeah, man.
That woman's 34.
Yeah, she's 34. Life came at her
look,
fast.
I know a mugshot is not everyone's best moment. So I always try to take that into account. But life came at her quite fast and has now passed her.
Yeah, but it's in the wind. But she needed to protect her hands. She couldn't just be out here punching middle schoolers with her bare knuckles.
Yeah, that would be crazy. And she would say that. What kind of crazy person you think I am?
But the girl, she had some scars, scrapes on her knees and forearms. She went to the hospital for a follow-up. She was cool, like no major injuries or anything like that. So good for her. Yeah. But obviously Edith, and that's a past 34-year-old name as well.
Yes, it is.
She was arrested and charged with one count of child abuse with personal/special weapon. So she actually used her daughter as a weapon because she pushed her daughter into the girl and then jumped in and they kind of were pounding on her. Both.
Yeah, I'm gonna need another adult to step in that daughter's life immediately because this path ain't good for her.
No, Jacksonville is lunching out here. Hold a beer. And I got some listeners out in Jacksonville. I'm gonna need y'all to check your folk.
check your folk and your football team. Urban Meyer. Yeah. But Florida, listen, it's been a while. Florida, not just Florida man, Florida woman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're back in the news. Look, we kind of touched on vaccinations and all that when we were talking earlier. So really this is more of a kind of a mixed bag update. I'll put it this way. Vaccinations are going out great. Sham, Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe.
So they pushed out the 100 million in like 90 days or whatever. So because they've already gotten 100 million, which is a huge accomplishment. Now he came out the other day. He's true, Uncle Joe. He came out. He was like, you know what? 200 million. It's just like that. It's like prices, right? Yeah, make it three. Make it three. It's like, hey, dude, calm down. Like, just ride this wave real quick. Like, you're okay. So, the vaccinations are getting out, but because of that, we talked about it before. A lot of people, hospitalizations are now trending back up. And the only thing of note I really want to point out was the really good news is that the people that were most vulnerable at first, the elderly, they're getting their vaccinations and they're being elderly about it, showing some sense, going back home.
And they are proud to share that they've gotten it too. I will say I've encountered many elderly in my part-time job in the last few weeks, and they are so happy to say that they've been vaccinated.
And even me, even I who don't really get tenderhearted watching the news, it is cool to see like the old people and they're like, oh, I get to see my they're like hugging their grandkids for the first time in like a year. That's cool. But that's the club for them. Like, let me do that and then I'm going.
Right.
Like young people, A, aren't getting it as much as they should. And B, because they just hear that people are getting vaccinated, are just like going back out the street.
Well, part of it is also that, with the phases, I mean, they just started phase 2B today in Maryland, and that's just for 60 and over. So I think unless you are in specific jobs, people of younger ages can't get it anyway. And even now with 2B, you can get it at 16 and over, but you have to have an underlying medical condition. Right. So I think part of it is that. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is what you are saying. Like, they're just like, whatever, YOLO. I'm out here. Other people are vaccinated. And so the statistic was brought up on TV today for Maryland that over 2 million people have been vaccinated, but that's still only 20% of the state.
Absolutely.
And the positive rate for COVID has gone back up to about 5.25%. Yeah. And that number is mostly younger people.
Right.
So, and it goes in line with what you're saying.
And hospitalizations and serious hospitalizations, like ICU and all that, has gone back up for young people. And then because we have these various strains and stuff like that, it's just so many different factors. But the point being, the new head of the CDC, by new, I mean the current, Rachel Walensky, who's way better leaps and bounds than the last one.
Yeah, go figure.
And she gets on there 3 times a week and has a press conference that tells the truth. She was like, look, I like the vaccinations. I like everything that's going on in that. But she said, I don't want to be a harbinger of doom and gloom, but the patterns I'm seeing in the country lead me to believe we will go back to how we were last summer. And that is a doomsday scenario because we are not ready to do that. And she got emotional and was like, I'm begging people, stop acting like the pandemic is over. And, you know, that's just a big thing.
You know, what's interesting? I saw an image last week about all of the countries who have their COVID virus under control. Mm-hmm. About 6 countries that either have like a small percentage of COVID outbreak or none at all, including New Zealand, who we talked about before. Yeah. It's like 6 countries. Yeah. All of them are run by women.
Yeah, I know what y'all do. Yeah. And y'all, look, as masculine as us guys are, like, we need to be loved. You know what I'm saying? Politicians, male politicians, we need to be popular. If something ain't popular, we're like, should we do this or not? Like, man, y'all be out here like, look, we don't care. Like, get in the house.
That's why women are mothers.
Stay there. Yeah.
Like and honestly, you got to treat certain situations. You got to treat people like they're your children and be like, look, no.
Like, whatever. Okay, well, vote me out. But half of y'all don't even vote anyway. So what do I care?
Right. And if I wasn't here, you'd be dead.
Yeah. And I think a woman, I will say this, I'm going to give women a lot of credit right now. A woman is more likely to make the statement, if I get voted out of office, but I did the right thing, like, I'll sleep at night.
Yeah, because we don't care about that.
To be like, well, I need to be in office to do the right thing. It's like, all right.
We don't care about glory and being liked.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we're at. But again, I want to stress, most of the news is good. So it's all political and world news we got to take.
Ready to get into some entertainment.
Yeah.
Let's
fun entertainment and some smoke for some stuff, Sharon. I've been saving.
Who got the smoke?
Yeah, but some good stuff first. Operation Varsity Blues. I'm gonna cover that one first because there's no smoke there, and you haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. Operation Varsity Blues. It's not even a spoiler. Aunt Becky is only a very small part of it, as she was only a very small part of the operation. So we talked about Operation Varsity Blues before. It's the Netflix special. It premiered last week about Rick Singer, who was the head of the target and the main proponent of the college admissions scandal conspiracy. Mm-hmm. The big thing to take out of this, they lifted the conversations directly from phone taps, and Matthew Modine as Rick Singer. So what they did was they took the conversations, but they used that to make the script. And he walks around, plays Rick Singer to a T. It's great. It's like most Netflix specials, you know, like Fire Festival and stuff like that. They interview people and stuff, and they do voiceovers. But unlike those, it's not just a straight up documentary. They have him portraying him. Very funny. And the Aunt Becky parts were good though, especially her husband's out of control. We talked about it, but he for real did threaten that counselor.
He's like, I'm a billionaire, YOLO.
No caps. Yeah, like he drove up there and was like, yo, like, stay out of our business. But that counselor, I will say this though, that counselor wasn't their business. He kind of like went a little like out of his lane just to make sure that they got caught.
But it fucking YOLO.
Yeah, but what it does kind of put the spotlight on though, man, is everything we were saying. These people have all the advantages in the world, rich people, and I like the movie because it framed it so that you understood, even if you didn't agree, why these rich people thought that they were actually at a disadvantage because of stuff like affirmative action. So they felt they had to do this. That was their logic. Yeah.
Or you could just tell your kid to study and be smart. Like,
right. Now, one thing I was wrong about at the beginning that I said and I want to correct, I was like, well, why didn't these people just pay to get their people in like normal people? Yeah, the amounts of money that this thing made it clear. The amounts of money that you have to pay for like absolute certainty are way more than what these people pay. So they were talking about the fact that like times you could pay like 10, 20 million and still not get it, which if I paid 10 to 20 million to your school, my child don't get in there, I'm flipping the table over and then some. So they were like, to pay him like 100,000 or 500,000 even was a bargain for these people because he told them they had the short thing. So,
it's like really incredible about that whole idea that they felt like they needed to pay money because of affirmative action. Mm-hmm. Like, think about this. In a school like USC, what percentage of Black people were actually at the school?
Right.
Probably about 10%, I would just say.
Maybe 10 to be generous.
10%. Yeah. So out of that other 90% of people, you felt like you had to go after the 10?
Yeah.
To get in? That's like 10. There's another whole 90% that you could have got in on. But you're going to go after the 10. And let's not even just say Black, Asian, Hispanic, Pacific Islander. Like, we're all lumped in together in that small percentage, but you felt like you needed to dig into that percentage for your kid to get in.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say, this is not even spoiler. This was just a thing on the logic. I went to a high school, kind of like a lot of high schools these people sent their kids to, right? And the logic that Rick Singer would say to them would be, okay, you already spent or did whatever to get your kid into this really hard high school. See, and I liked what they did because they did it with colleges too. There's a difference between prestige and quality. And they were like, just because something's prestigious doesn't mean it's a lot better than anything else. It's just prestigious as recognition.
Yep.
But they were like, their logic was, well, this high school that my kid gets in or that my kid attends now is way better than all these other kids coming from all these raggedy public schools. And my kid has a B average in this high school because it's harder. So it's not fair that somebody goes to some raggedy, horrible high school in the inner city and they have an A average and my kid has a B average and my kid probably works harder than theirs to get that.
You don't know that.
This is exactly, but that's their logic. So they're like, so this is my way of evening, quote unquote, this is them. Even in the playing field.
Like white people need to even something. Okay.
Right. This is their logic. That was their logic. And he would play on that. He'd be like, exactly. So just pay me that $5,000. And your kid who deserves it anyway will get in over that Black kid from the city because his school's trash. That kind of thing. So very interesting special. Definitely watch it. This is a quick preview note. Kong versus Godzilla. Have you been into any of those?
No. And listen, this is probably like the 25th time that King Kong has been versus Godzilla in our lifetime. Let me just preface this by saying, when I was growing up, my grandmother, rest in peace, Irene Jones, loved Godzilla movies. She probably owned every Godzilla movie known to man. And when I tell you that Godzilla and King Kong was probably one of the favorites in our household growing up, it is ridiculous. I never want to see another Godzilla movie again. That's just how I feel in the streets.
So, first of all, you have mentioned this before on the show. You couldn't pay me to find it, but you have mentioned it in one of the 100. The last King Kong movie was Kong on Skull Island. I did not see that. The last Kong movie I saw was with Naomi Watts and Jack Black like 5, 6, 7 years ago. The Kong on Skull Island had everybody in it, Sham. I'm talking about, it was on TNT the other day, and I didn't watch it because I caught it in the middle. But the one scene I saw had dude who played Dr. Dre in the Straight Outta Compton, dude who played Eazy-E in Straight Outta Compton, Samuel L. Jackson, like all these, like 5 or 6 other actors sitting in one room planning how they were going to defeat King Kong. I was like, yo, all these people in this movie apparently was very good. What I'm saying is, in that movie, because in the King Kong I saw, King Kong was not nearly as big as Godzilla. So I was like, yo, how is he fighting him?
In this movie, they about to be the same size.
They're the same size, correct. So he's that big. And the last Godzilla movie I saw, I want to say it was Bryan Cranston. Maybe I think it was a few years ago. And that one was okay. It was good. So I'm excited. They put it on HBO Max. You know the good thing about movies these days, Sam, you don't got to pay to go to the theater to see them if you got a platform.
Unless
so you don't have that same sense of like absolute disgust. Disney Plus, we'll talk about that. Absolute disgust when you walk out of the theater and it's a bad movie. Like if it's HBO Max, like turn this crap off.
Oh, I'm sure anybody who saw WW84 was like, I'm glad I didn't go to the movies to see this.
Have you finally seen it?
No, because I missed it. It went off HBO Max before, it's about to come back on because it's about to be released on video, but I'll wait.
I like how they would try to tell people who's going off and it was like, bye.
Right. Like, we don't care.
Nobody care about that. That movie was trash.
Everybody watched it on Christmas and was like, yo, this just ruined my Christmas.
Was trash. Right. I could have been opening some more presents and going out.
Maybe we need Zack Snyder to redo that one.
Absolutely. All right, so let's talk about comic book. All right, so Winter Soldier. There have been 2 episodes. What do you think of Captain America and Winter Soldier so far?
I think Captain America is trash, but
Now, can you be specific about that statement?
It's so whack. Like the the Captain America, the new guy, the agent,
the new one. Correct.
Yeah, no, Steve Rogers is everything. No, but the new captain, I don't even know his name. I don't care because he's whack. And he's trying too hard.
Yeah. Somebody told me tidbit. Apparently, the actor, he's famous. I forget. He's on something else, but he applied to be. He tried out for Captain America, for real.
That wouldn't have worked
in Marvel. Yeah, it was like, what were you thinking, fam? I don't even know your name. And Chris Evans is way more famous than you, and the part fits him better.
Chris Evans had a relationship with Marvel before that. Like he was in the Fantastic Four, 2 of them.
Yeah, which is actually kind of random. They're just like, oh, we're recasting. But okay, what do you think of the overall direction of the show so far, Jim?
Did you see episode 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to clear that up. At the end of the first episode, I was very excited about it. I liked where it was going. I'm a little confused about where it is going now. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're going to try to get the shield back. But, I don't like this. I feel like the Captain America character now is trying too hard to get in good with Sam and Bucky. I think that he's trying to befriend them way too early, too much, too hard. The black guy, that's kind of like his buddy. I don't know what to think about him yet. I think it's a little contrived because there might be something going on with the government that we don't know yet, where he's trying to reel them in and get them caught up in something.
Captain America is trying to reel Bucky and Steve and Sam into something that the government is doing. Is that what you mean? Right.
I feel like this is a Hydra thing again.
Okay, got you. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Okay.
So I'm not quite sure where that's going. I do like the little quirky scenes where Bucky's with the psychiatrist, and then I like when Sam came in and I like their energy, like their
energy. They have good chemistry.
Their bromance kind of building thing. I like that. But other than that, like I'm kind of like just patiently waiting because I feel like they're going to do what they did with WandaVision. We're just going to be chilling for the first few episodes and then it's going to go boom and we're going to be like, oh, Now,
that leads me to another question. Are you aware of the structure of the season / episode count and all that?
It's 6 episodes.
Okay, so good. So
it's broken up to 6. Like I think I said last week that they were thinking about making it into a movie, but then they broke it into 6 episodes.
It's 6 episodes. So unlike WandaVision, here's my concern. WandaVision had what, 10? 9 or 10?
8,
9,
I think. 8 or 9.
Oh, okay. 6. We're already approaching 3. At the end of this episode, we are halfway through the season. We don't have time for a lot of stuff.
Well, you have to look at the length of the episodes. WandaVision was only like 22 minutes. These are 40 plus minutes episodes.
What is it only that short?
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were like 30, maybe even 40.
Yeah, but it was 7 minutes of credits. So
you're right. That was kind of crazy. I mean, at the end they were paying it off, but okay, fair enough. All right, Sharon, you're gonna say I'm tripping. I'm not vaccine tripping, but I'm tripping, and everyone has said I'm tripping. And Stop Playing Podcast family, after 100 episodes, y'all know when I get a tripping bone to chew on, I stay on it for a while.
Yeah, you know.
I know it. And this has been gnawing at me, and that's the right word. I didn't like the whole bit about the man trying to get the law. Now, Stop Playing Podcast family. I work in the financial industry. I work in the lending industry. Okay. So it's kind of like a Jerry Seinfeld one time. There was a Jewish comedian making corny jokes, and they were like, does it offend you as a Jew? He's like, no, it offends me as a comedian. You know what I'm saying? The narrative here was that the man couldn't get a loan, for his sister's boat. And he walks in, and Falcon walks in with his sister, and the guy takes a selfie with him, which is completely unprofessional. Like, what are you doing? And then declines him. Which is like compounds the initial unprofessionalism. And then says about the blip and this and that. So Stop Playing Podcast family, I'm going to just say it like this, and I'm going to just, to cite the blip as a reason somebody can't get a loan is absurd. Oh, you don't have any credit? Okay, the blip happened to half of the population of the world. I don't know everything. I don't know a lot about Marvel, but I understood that much, that the purpose was to wipe out half the population. If you wipe out half the population and then half the population reappears, to deny them credit on the basis that they disappeared would cripple the financial system. Okay? It's just that simple. So if we're going to try to push the narrative of racism, let's just push the narrative of racism. I can't stand.
Yeah, but he don't have no income either.
Okay, I mean, I thought first of all, he's Steve Rogers. Like,
no, he's Sam Wilson.
Or Sam Wilson, excuse me. Get some as collateral. Like, that man can get along. So
you tell it. I'm going to ask you this because you are a loan officer. Let's just put that out there. You would give somebody a loan based on celebrity alone? No income, no credit?
I'm going to put a pin in your question. Because that's what you're
asking this man to do.
I'm going to put a pin in your question and ask a different way. Why was he so confident he could get the loan? Because he told his sister. So, first of all, any consultant or something for the government, like you and I were talking about this, is it an unpaid?
Well, that's position? What he said. That's what he told the guy. He said he didn't have any income because people were giving them mostly donations. They didn't get paid to be Avengers. They just were giving money like donations and stuff.
If you can show us a revenue stream of some sort, you're going to get a loan.
I guess that's what he couldn't do.
I'm not even talking about like a pay stub. I'm talking about like statements. Like, how are you walking around with clothes?
Because people donated clothes and money.
Okay, if you show me 3 months of bank statements and you're an Avenger, you're getting a loan.
Maybe they gave him cash. Like,
does it go into his account or does he walk around with the cash out of his pocket?
Maybe he couldn't have an account for real because he's an Avenger.
Yeah, you're getting a loan. Yeah, and on top of that, and my other smoke is, okay, so what happened with this issue in the second episode? Why wasn't it discussed? It was made such a big deal in the first one. So if you didn't get the loan and your sister needs it, why was it? What was the resolution for that?
This matter was pressing. He had to catch the people. They'll come back to it in another episode.
I hope so.
I don't think they're just going to leave that dangling. That's not the Kevin Feige way.
No, it's not. But I would at least like it mentioned. Can we get a phone call from him?
I mean, we got 4 more episodes. Come on, G.
I would have liked it mentioned in the second episode, since it was such a pressing matter that you had to have this dude go to a bank and sit there like a simp and get rejected for a loan. Like, this is absurd.
It's also absurd that your sister was out here letting your parents' business go into the ground while you out here saving the world. And then she come at you like, well, while you was out here saving the world, I was back here with mom and dad. ma'am, I just saved the universe. Like, calm yourself down.
But wait a minute. Now, I don't like her energy at him, but I do understand. I would have preferred that conversation to say, okay, well, did you check on me? I mean, you do know Tony Stark, right? Like, what's up? What's up? Like, can I get a little, or all these donations you talk about? Can I get a kickback? You living in the Avengers Tower? Whatever.
I feel like maybe he didn't know. Maybe she didn't tell him. I feel that part. I do feel like, because a lot of times people are so proud that they don't let people know that they need help. And I
agree with that.
I think that might be part of that whole dynamic with them. Like, she kind of resents him because he went off and joined the military and this and that. I could see her not having the conversation. So I'm not going to just put that totally on him. But the Tony Stark part, I do agree. Like, why are we not calling Pepper Potts and asking her to drop me some dollars? Like, Pepper Potts is a billionaire. Like,
and honestly, I don't even want to like see that on camera. I just want it taken care of.
Right.
I don't want him like sitting there asking for a loan ever again. But like, Batman as a jerk to everyone, like in the DC universe, he's known to be genius, a jerk, and rich. He will take care of everybody in the universe because he needs them. He can't have the Hawk out here like in debt. You know what I'm saying? Get charge off, because that'll distract his mind from a mission.
Well, I mean, if he had the Iron Man suit, he probably wouldn't feel like he needed anybody.
You said what?
If he had the Iron Man suit, he probably wouldn't feel like he needed anybody.
Yeah,
his suit is shit compared to Iron Man.
No, honestly, they need to do a little better with that suit because them wings look like I got them for Toys R Us. Like. And, I've been waiting for the moment where I could call Reese back on the show and be like, see, man, I told you they're going to do right by it. We haven't gotten to that moment yet either. Let's get that straight.
Actually, you should probably check in with him to see if he's even watching.
I am going to check in with him. There's no question. Oh, by the way, good announcement. You talked about him. They are expecting.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she announced his wife. His wife announced it on the show. So congratulations to Reese and his wife. I believe she's 3 or 4 months along. So I did check in with him about that, and he's very excited.
Awesome.
But that aside, he's going to come on and gloat. Actually, in the check-in, back to this conversation, I literally said, congratulations on the news and blah, blah, blah. And then I said, and I'm excited to watch episode 2 with a soldier. I'm trying to see Anthony Mackie's redemption so we can have you back on the show. And he was like, I'll come on the show, but don't hold your breath for the redemption. He did say that.
I love it.
So, but anyway, but look, I have allowed that to gnaw at me a lot. And that's just because I've been in the industry, like Sham said. And because I'm attuned. Back to the general discussion, I do like that even in the second episode, clearly they're going into like the history of the military and Black soldiers. And they would talk about super soldiers and what they were doing. So they are trying to do a social commentary. My concern is that, again, we only have 6 episodes, and I'm cool with the social commentary. To me, the social commentary is already. I came in this thing expecting Black Captain America and super soldier, and here we got this imposter like you talking about out here. And how's Black Captain America going to be treated? I was cool with that social commentary. Let's just leave it at that. Now we got a sister need a loan. Baby needs shoes. Like, come on. Like, I guess.
But in the second episode, I thought you could appreciate the fact that while Sam and Bucky were in Baltimore, the police kind of pulled up and went at Sam, but then it was actually Bucky who had the warrant and he got taken in.
I did appreciate that. Yes. And you were like, look, I think you'll appreciate the second episode better. While I appreciate that, I think they're biting off a lot. I get it, but it's like, we get it. We get it. Let's get to the meat and we can incorporate all these things.
I like the conversation he had with the kid.
Oh yeah.
He was like, so do people call you Black Boy? He was like,
that was a nice comeback. Absolutely. And I like what they're doing with Bucky. I mean, Bucky, most of the movies, I mean, they made him normal towards the end when they needed him, but you didn't really get to see him, that much. He was the subject. I'll put it this way. You didn't really get to see him in this type of light where he could relate to somebody, even though he's friends with Steve. Most of it was him working his mental issues out. So this is more, like you said, chemistry with I keep wanting to call him Steve, Sam, and just acting like a normal guy and cracking jokes and stuff like that. It's good to see that.
The date was a little cringy, though. When he went on a date with that was really cringy. But I mean, but you know what? I appreciate that as well. It's like, look, this guy has been a Winter Soldier for like 100 years. Like, he's trying to navigate life as a regular person, and dating is awkward enough for people who aren't Winter Soldiers. So I felt like, that was like right on point.
No, you're right. You're right. No, it's cool. So I'm looking forward to it in general. I think I had to kind of uncross my arms on a bunch of stuff, but it's a good show though. I mean, like you said,
you be getting like real heated. I'll be like, yo,
I get heated about stuff, man.
You do. Like, come on, Joe.
Stuff bothers me, man. Stuff bothers me.
Like, it's all right.
Watch out, chill out, man. So, but that's cool. Oh, 2 quick notes. Batwoman, I've fallen behind, so you'll probably catch me by the time I catch up. And I have DVR'd Lois and Superman. Is that what's called?
Yeah, actually, they're on a break right now. So, so I think it was like 5 or 6 episodes. They're starting Supergirl tonight. Actually, they started Supergirl tonight, and I think Superman and Lois will probably come back.
I thought you told me Supergirl was going. This is the last season.
This is the last season. This is the final season of Supergirl, which I'm very upset about. But hey, it is what it is. I'm upset about that. Superstore ended last week. Yeah, that got me a little emotional. I've also just found out that the show Mom on CBS, they're going to have a final season as well. Like a lot of these shows
that show's been on minutes.
I mean, 7 seasons, I guess, but they never got the Allison Janney, Academy Award winner Allison Janney, who was who won a ton of Emmys on West Wing and
West Wing,
she was pretty much devastated because there was never any indication that they were going into cancellation. So
now, has this been the only season without Ferris? Anna Ferris?
Yes, but we as a viewer, I don't miss her.
Yeah, you said it at the time. You they can do that show without.
I don't.
Which I've only watched a couple, but they were early, so I was like, how could they do it? But I guess they can.
Oh yeah, they've evolved way since then. Like they've added in more characters, changed the whole kind of thing. So that's a little upsetting. I noticed that they added Frasier to Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
They've also added. You can't do that on television.
Yeah.
I was like, because when I was like, how you gonna have a whole Nickelodeon? Right. That's one of the early Nickelodeon shows. Like that came out 1982, 83.
Oh yeah. That show's crazy.
And that's where the slime came from. That show when you would slime people. And I was like, how you gonna have Paramount Plus and have Nickelodeon and don't have that show on there? But then I was scrolling through the other night and that was on there. Hey Dude, Salute Your Shorts, all this.
Hey Dude's on Paramount Plus?
Yep.
Oh, then I'll be watching Paramount Plus. Hey Dude, Hey Dude was all right. Hey Dude was Nickelodeon's answer to Saved by the Bell. It was basically Saved by the Bell on a ranch.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. And Ben Stiller's wife, what's her name?
Christine
Taylor.
Taylor, yes.
Yeah, that was she slid under the radar at that time. Ben Stiller scooped that up. Good job.
He outkicked his coverage for real.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
So I'm excited. I was browsing through last night and I feel like with Paramount Plus, I was having the same issue with Disney Plus. Like I felt like the interface was a little archaic. Like it wasn't I still don't like that I can't save shows. Like I can't add them to my stuff or my list or anything like that. Like they don't have that function. So it's okay, I don't remember what I wanted to watch and I have to scroll back through and find it again because I couldn't save it. That's a little annoying.
They got Double Dare on there?
Yes, Double Dare is on there.
I'm about to say you can't have Nickelodeon without Double Dare.
Yep.
You stop
but
playing.
Double Dare was on there from inception, so I kind of felt okay, if Double Dare was on here, why is you can't do it on television now? On there,
Mark Summers should be swimming in money, Scrooge McDuck style. Yeah, that's the only thing I've been in for. Everybody wants Double Dare.
He did he was hosting on the Food Network for years.
Oh, really?
Unwrapped, that candy
they gotta
show.
get that Discovery Plus money too.
Right.
I told you before the podcast, hey, y'all, Discovery Plus, you can't get me to watch. I watch ID channel like it's nothing. That's all I watch. That's all I watch. All day.
So what I
what
I have been watching on Paramount Plus is The Real World Homecoming. And that
it's in the middle of it?
Yes. They've had 4 episodes. Mm-hmm. And that is the season 1 cast reunited to the very loft. And season 1 came out in 1992. I remember being in 7th grade. Heather B, Eric Neese, Kevin Powell, all those cats. Like, it's interesting to watch because all of the racial tension and injustice and issues that were going on then. Because remember, that was around the Rodney King scenario.
Rodney King, 92.
And then fast forward to now, there's the George Floyd scenario. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like it's been 30 years, but not much has changed. Or it changed, but then regressed and went backwards.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a vicious circle. Definitely.
Yeah. So the same kind of conversations that they were having during season 1 of The Real World, they're still having. And what's nice about it is that they have them all in the same loft. Everybody's back. They showed them clips from 30 years ago. And then they kind of discuss, what they were feeling then and how they feel now. But the tension between Kevin and I forgot the other lady's name when they went at it. Her privilege is still here and his angry black man syndrome is still here. And she rolled out and left. So they're trying to get her to come back because she
How old are these people now? Like in their 50s?
They're in their 50s. Yeah, late 40s, early 50s.
What are you talking about, man?
But
I get it though. I mean, this is serious stuff like racial, tension is serious.
And you have to remember, they were the very first season. So they didn't know what they were walking into. It was like actual reality for them. Yeah. They didn't know what they were walking into. There was no blueprint or anything. They are the blueprint for reality TV. And so like watching it again and you seeing all this stuff, Eric Neese has COVID. So he's staying in a hotel room while they in the loft. So it's been interesting. The episodes come out on Thursdays. And so it's been good. It's been really good.
That's interesting. Okay. I didn't even, you had told me when it was about to start, but I didn't realize it was starting.
Mm-hmm. And then they're going to do a challenge all-stars. So a lot of the original people from Road Rules and The Real World are coming back for
Puck, you can expect Puck there.
Nah, he ain't there.
Puck ain't gonna show up for the challenge?
He not there. That starts Thursday on the 1st.
Okay. But I'm saying, okay, because Puck is clearly the most famous.
Nobody wants to be around Puck.
That's the whole point. That's why you got to get him.
They didn't call him.
Puck is the most famous real world character. Like, let's just keep it a buck. Like, or keep it $1.
I could argue that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way.
I think Pedro Zamora is probably the most famous real world character.
Okay. A case can be made there.
And they were on the same.
They were on the same one. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, okay. Fair enough. And SVU, the backdoor pilot to the Stablers thing, that's Thursday.
Yeah, I've seen so many previews about that. I'll be so glad when it actually happens so I can stop seeing the
Law and
commercials.
Order community are like, just our expectations for this are unreal. It's not going to meet them, and that's that. Like, but we're still excited.
I'm like, Dick Wolf, you're getting on my nerves with this stuff.
He knows, man. We can't wait. Yeah, we want Stable and Benson to get married. They say personal tragedy. We're like, so wait, does Stable's wife die or something? That way he can marry Benson. But that's sick. That's sick. All right. So, you sent me something about Chrissy Teigen.
Yeah, she quit Twitter.
Yikes!
Which is big because even Twitter has called her the unofficial mayor of Twitter.
Mm-hmm. So, harassment? Why did she quit?
Yeah, I think it was a lot to do with, she said it no longer serves her positively as it serves her negatively. Okay. So she was just like, it's just time to stop. And I think a lot of it has come from, being blocked by the president, his supporters, and then like, A handful of people had started targeting her once she started following President Biden. And then she had a very public miscarriage in October. And a lot of people kind of attacked her.
That was awful. What people were doing about that.
Terrible.
Yeah. I do remember that.
But and then there's this one thing called Pizzagate. I guess her and her husband were part of like a non-existent pedophile ring, supposedly run out of a Washington, D.C. pizzeria.
Yes, I've heard about Pizzagate. I did not know that it involved her.
Right. And so she's had to block somewhere around 1 million Twitter accounts. Yeah. And she's being harassed ongoingly by QAnon followers.
I was about to say Pizzagate is a QAnon thing. Yeah.
Right. So
that's one of their big things.
That's been a lot of her, reasoning for canceling her Twitter account, the QAnon followers.
I was thinking about this, and sometimes it is hard for us to put ourselves in the eyes of a celebrity or what have you. When you say, okay, well, I like how you broke it down, how she broke it down. If the net difference in your life of having social media is negative, then it's time to step off social media. So she's like, oh yeah, it does a lot of positive things for me, gives me exposure and lets me talk to my fans. But then the volume of negativity is more than that. Oh, well then forget it. What's the point? And I was thinking about it. It's easy for regular people. We both know we've done it. I know I have. I'm gonna take a break from social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to get off Facebook. I'm going to get off whatever, and I'm not going to worry about it. And then like a month or two later, like, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Well, celebrities can't do that because they got followers and people want to, and it's interwoven into their business and into their brand and into their life in that way. So if they take a break, they're going to get backlash for that. And it's not like they can just come back on and act like nothing happened. People are going to attack them. Where you been? What you doing? Or it's going to create curiosity and paparazzi, whatever. Like, why are they taking a break? What are they doing? They up to something. Let's go like peek in their lives. So I do sympathize. I don't sympathize enough probably with like famous people and celebrities and stuff like that. But I can respect that position on her part. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss her clapback. She and Rihanna are famous for their clapbacks. Like they go at it with folks.
She's Rihanna level?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, she will definitely be missed, but like you said, it's understandable. And I think a lot of times people forget that celebrities are actually human beings. They're regular people. Right. Like, they're famous and that's all fine. But at the end of the day, they're a person like me and you. So
yeah. Yeah, they deserve a break. Now, speaking of social media,
this guy.
But beyond social media, though, just the general topic. So, it's kind of cooled off a little bit at this point. But I think you gave another element to this where I think the family would also like to hear it. So, Derek Jackson, Mr. Self-styled relationship guru, marriage counselor extraordinaire, get on his little videos. And, I never had to smoke for him like other guys especially had, because I would just ignore him. You know what I'm saying? Like, even come on his video and, even if there was some women who were like, oh, he's telling the truth, I'd be like, whatever. Like, go ahead and get your bag, Slim, and like talk to the people you're talking to. But there were guys, man, they hated him. They'd be like, oh, he's such a hypocrite. And he is, but it's like,
we didn't know that though until now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, but you can, I guess the way I view it, someone who is going through that much of an effort to try to make themselves look that good can't possibly live up to that.
Oh yeah. Protesting too much.
Exactly. Thank you. And if you want to go out your way to like bash guys or whatever, you're still a man. So you can't possibly be covering all the bases that you claim to be covering. But anyway, so he cheated on his wife. Now, Sharon, what's your understanding of the situation? What are your thoughts on it in general? Like, I want to know how much you've dug in, if at all, what you've seen, in this conversation.
I really haven't dug in for real. Like, I just know that he talks about being pretty much his whole, brand is being like this perfect guy.
Mm-hmm.
And his mistress kind of put him on blast and showed his wife a video.
Big time.
Then, like seriously, put him on blast. And he basically capitalized off of that by doing a apology video to his wife who was sitting next to him and posted it on his social media. I'm like, yo, you really will do anything to try to look good. Like, and I sent you the video of Donkey of the Day that Charlamagne the God did on the Breakfast Club, which was fitting because we did talk about a couple years ago when Derek Jackson felt it was his business to put Charlamagne on blast on his very Facebook and use that as a clout opportunity.
Yep.
And Charlamagne was actually dignified about it. He invited him onto his Brilliant Idiots podcast and they had a conversation about it. Like, Charlamagne ain't taking no way. He was like, all right, well, brother, you're charging me to take accountability. So that's what I'm about to do. So he did. He brought him on the podcast. I thought, again, that it was absolutely fitting for Charlamagne to give him Donkey of the Day because now it's a full circle and you coming back and now he's charging you with accountability that you don't seem to want to take because what did he do? He blamed God for his cheating.
I mean, that Donkey today brought some things to my attention. Like most of the stuff I knew, but the video of him blaming God for his cheating. I have heard him speak in the third person, but I didn't know he did it to the extent that it was shown on Donkey today. Derek Jackson has problems. Like, serious problems. Because you can't act like that and talk like that. There's one thing to kind of play something up for a brand. You bring your wife out there and put her through that for basically the preservation of your brand. You have problems, Slim. Like, your brand is an extension of your personal problems, your mental problems, in my opinion.
His wife looked like she was in a sunken place. Did you see the look on her face? Yeah. She looked like she did not want, he like made her be there. Like it was almost like, girl, get out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was abusive. Like, did you just see the way all of her body language? It reminded me of, remember how Will Smith was sitting there just taking it? While on the table talk when Jada Pinkett Smith was talking to him and saying, all this stuff, and it was like you could see his eyes were bloodshot, like he was crying. Yep. Like it was almost like, dude, what are you doing? Like it was the same thing, but I feel like it's worse for her because it was almost like she was looking like real stoic about it, but you could tell like dude, like it was almost she looked trapped.
So she made another video. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh no, she made one after that. Because people were making the observation you're making. And they kind of, some people will reach out to her and say, oh, trying to help her. But then there were some people also attacking her. And then getting mad at her for quote unquote, allowing him to do that and all that. So her video was responding to the response. And she made one by herself. And she basically was like, Derek needs to take responsibility for what he's done, and I'm going to hold him accountable. But I mean, she didn't say that's our business, but that was basically the gist. But she also was like, a lot of people are attacking me, and it's like, why are you attacking me? I do feel on that. But yeah, no, she addressed it because clearly it got back to her like, yo, you did not look healthy in that. Like.
But she allowed herself to be attacked. You allowed yourself to be put in a position to be exploited and attacked. And that stems from you. Like, let my husband be like, all right, we're going to do this video so I can apologize to you in public. Hell no. I'm not doing no video with you. But get out of here. These are your followers. You get in your car in your driver's seat like you always do. And you apologize. Like, no. Like, to me, I don't need you to apologize to me publicly. I need you to do the work in the house. Like, this is your brand. This is your bag. Go ahead and do what you got to do. But you need to kiss the ring. Like, you need bend the knee. Yeah, like, this is what you need to do. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm different. And I understand that every woman isn't like that. Women are different. But nah, like people only allow what you let them allow. People only do what you allow them to do. And, you know, I feel bad for her that she got cheated on, but I don't feel bad at the response. Like, you know, no, I don't.
So it's interesting, right? What goes through my head, you talk about like politicians, but even famous figures in general. A lot of times they will bring their wife up there at a press conference. So this was, you know, social media, but it's the same deal. They, you know, the wife comes up there and they stand with them, especially politicians. This happens with them a lot. If they get caught cheating or whatever, wife stands there, they make apologies to the people and all that. And then they say how much they love them. Rest in peace. Kobe Bryant did something like that. Now his issue was more serious about the sexual assault. He denied that, but he couldn't deny the infidelity. And he brought Vanessa up there and was like, I was unfaithful. Now, he didn't sit there and say, well, Kobe Bryant wants to apologize to his fans, but blah, 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 blah. No. But a lot of times, see, this is probably what Derek Jackson thought. This is why I'm bringing this up. You bring the wife up there, it gives you credibility. Y'all are working it out, this and that.
You ain't that dude, cuz.
And it's like, dude, you have to understand how bad that looks. Now, a lot of people were like, dude's a savage. They basically were like, yo, he had her coming in. Because, I mean, you could do that video anytime you want. She looked like, you know, she had casual clothes on. She almost
looked like
had
she was doing spring cleaning that day. Like she was just
correct.
It was a Saturday and she was trying to clean the house. And he was like, yo, babe, come over here. Let's do this video.
Right. And a lot of people think that was done on purpose to make her look sort of, you know, average, to give him sort of an out without having to say it about why he cheated. Like this is what people thought. And, you know, I'll put it this way. That's crazy, but I could see a crazy person like him thinking that.
Yeah. It's all a production for him.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand what you're saying about Kobe and politicians and stuff, but those are not people who stand on being great at relationships. You're talking about a basketball player and you're talking about a politician. You're not talking about somebody who makes their living on being the best man he can be to his woman. So like, it's all hypocrisy with him. And like, bruh, like I will admit it. The first time I saw him in a video, I was like, damn, he kind of fine. Like, you know, every
woman says that. Yeah.
He's a very attractive man. Yeah. And some of the stuff he said indeed was true, but I could never follow him because I don't like when people make, you know, profits or they you know, create gain off of talking bad about other people. Mm-hmm. Like you're benefiting off of talking badly about your brethren. I don't like that. Like his whole shtick is just talking about how bad dudes are, specifically black men. You bash black men. Yeah. You bash black men for a living, and women soak that shit up. And I'm like, I seen this dude one time. I was like, okay, this is whack. You fine, but this is whack. Yeah. And I just never got into him. And then I thought it was really whack the way he called out Charlamagne. You know how I feel about Charlamagne. I love Charlamagne. So I was like, okay, you extra whack for that. Because you are an obvious clout chaser, because stuff like this only comes out when you trying to sell books.
And when you chase a clout going for somebody like Charlamagne, you better not give him no ammo ever again in your life.
Ever giving him leverage. Because that donkey of the day. When I tell you that was like top 5 donkey of the day I've heard, I was like, yo, you asked for it.
It's one of those things. It's like, dude, do you understand? Charlamagne has a platform where he can get his own time and has the biggest platform in the world to go on anyone he wants that day. It's a bit. So why would you put yourself in that crosshair? But if he ever gets something about you, you're gonna be the donkey.
Right. Like
he gonna make special time for you for that one.
That platform is so big. You had people 10 times larger than Derek Jackson come on the show just to dispute the fact that he called him donkey of the day.
I mean, shoot, Monique coming up there like, I came here because you called me donkey today, and then proceeded to act like a donkey. You know, I always say that, like, you gave fuel to his fire. Why
all you did was prove why you are a donkey of the day. Now you donkey of the life, because you're just a whole donkey out here.
Yeah, but that was fallout. I do feel for his wife in general. She didn't ask for well, she didn't ask for a lot of the backlash for his actions. But to your point, she has a measure of control over this. And, nobody's telling you what to do with your marriage. But in terms of just these videos, like, stop them. I don't want to see you on video in this capacity. Stop doing it. Now, speaking of Fallout, Shan, I had to send this one to you because this is a show that you've discussed, but you said, your one is the real.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're talking about the talk and the fallout between Sharon Osbourne, the network, and Cheryl Underwood. I did watch a clip of the episode. They are on break. They will not be back until I think April 12th or something like that.
Yeah. Another schedule. They were supposed to come back sooner than that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So look, the reason I don't like the talk is because that's not my lane. It's just not. Those are women older than me. The real speaks to me a little more closely. And shoot, even that's about to be. But
really, you don't like the changes?
Yeah, the changes.
Just what's the name left? And
Tamara
left. Yeah,
I like Garcelle Beauvais, but she's not giving me what I thought she would like. But so anyway, Sharon Osbourne has left the talk. She's one of the originals. So I think all the originals are gone. I don't know. Maybe Cheryl Underwood was an original. But yeah, so she's gone, and it stemmed from, and we talked about this a little bit when Tim was on. It stemmed from her supporting her friend Piers Morgan. It was a tweet where she basically said, speak your mind, don't let anybody talk you out of your opinion, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And so what Cheryl Underwood asked her was that, do you agree that some people are calling him racist for his comments regarding Meghan Markle? And she got hella defensive. Yeah. Like, she didn't even answer the question. She was like, well, what if he just doesn't like her? Like, what if somebody is Black and I just don't like them? Does that make me racist? And Elaine, she said no, which is true. Yeah. You could just,
I was about to say, that's a perfectly legitimate question.
It's a perfectly legitimate question. And that's true. Like, just, I might not like somebody. It doesn't mean because they are a different color, I just don't like them.
Spoiler alert, most of the people I don't like are Black. Like, keep going.
That part. I've often said I like white people better.
If you had to put a volume of people I like and don't like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't like them. But on seriousness, like, she never really answered the question. But Cheryl Underwood was just kind of like, as a friend of mine, who I believe you are a friend of mine, we've been friends for many years. I've never felt that you were racist in any way. But I want to ask you this question because, people are thinking that your friend Piers Morgan is racist and you have defended him. And she's like, well, I don't like how you're trying to say that I'm racist. And like, no one tried to say that you were racist. We just want to know your opinion on what people think of your friend.
I just spent 30 seconds trying to tell you I don't think that.
And I mean, it was just a firestorm of them just going back and forth. And then she starts F-wording and cussing and all this kind of stuff. She's yelling. And then to me, it never seemed like they got to any resolution. And I think that the reason why CBS was kind of like, okay, you got to go, is because of the whole like rant and cussing and things like that. And also because some other ex-co-hosts came out and said some things. Holly Robinson Peete said that she wondered why she was ghetto. And she called Julie Chen squinty eyes at one point.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And she called Sarah, what is her last name? The executive producer used to play she's on the Connors now, and she left the show, but she created the show.
Not Sarah Chalk, but you said she's playing the Connors.
She was on Roseanne. She's on Connors, and she's what is her name? Right? The daughter. She is the one.
The one that played Darlene.
Darlene. She's the one that created the show. Why can't I?
I know who you're talking about.
Why can't I get her name right now?
Yeah.
But she called her basically not a carpet muncher, but she made a very derogatory statement about her being a lesbian. And so I think all those things coming into play, they were just like, yeah, you out of here. And so she walked off the show.
She kind of got me too'd in the racism way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like once something leaks out and people latch onto it, like, yeah, I've been meaning to tell y'all about this instance and this instance and blah, blah, blah. And then it's just cascades and then you're out of there. That's the society we live in.
Yeah, because even Holly Robinson Pete was like, well, I was never going to say this before, but since this happened.
Since we're talking about it, yeah, she's racist, you know, that kind of thing.
Sarah Gilbert called her a pussy licker.
Wow. Point blank.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that interests me the most about this is that it's fallout from Fallout. This is a domino.
Also called her a fish eater.
Yikes. This is good racist. She really must not like her. This is the definition of a domino effect. Harry and Meghan do this interview with Oprah. They make all these accusations. Piers Morgan then gets on his show, acts crazy about it. He's kicked off. Now Sharon Osbourne, because she's friends with him, she's kicked off her. Like, this is domino from a domino. This is from that interview. This is all from that interview.
And it was unnecessary too, because people are reacting that had nothing to do with it. Piers Morgan ain't had nothing to do with all of that, and neither did Sharon Osbourne. But they out here being all emotional, acting a fool, and this is what happens.
You acted extra. Piers Morgan's your friend. All you had to say was, you know what? It's unfortunate. I even disagree with it, but I agree. Because the woman said, I'm not saying you're a racist. So it's like, okay, well, thank you for not saying I'm racist. I understand your position on Piers. He is a friend of mine, and you know, we'll agree to disagree, whatever. You know, but it's like, you're gonna lose your job. He's gonna lose his job. I mean, not that y'all are like, you know, running around with a cup of your hand for pennies, but the point being, it's like you said, for what?
What did he actually say that was racist? What did you hear him say that was actually racist?
Good job.
Lady.
Don't forget to tell that story you told me. That's a good one about the food truck. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, we'll do that on one-on-one or beyond. But but yeah, it's just dominoes on dominoes on dominoes. And I do understand that this show, as the shows like it, are set up to discuss things that are happening. So it's inevitable that things that are happening are going to cascade onto its format. But this was unnecessary in the sense of she allowed it to be. She should have been kicked off, but yeah, she should. Yeah. This shouldn't even blown up like that.
I mean, honestly, she'd be like, you know what? He's my friend. I don't support what he says, but I'm going to support him during this time. And I'm not racist. Whatever. But all of that vitriol and yelling and screaming, it does nothing to support you.
And last thing for me, when we talked about these shows of this type, I said, The Real is the only one that I've seen where everybody ain't sitting there screaming at each other half the time.
Yeah.
Like, and the Views had crap like this where, like, Hasselbeck's wife, when saying Hasselbeck's wife,
Elizabeth Hasselbeck.
Yeah, Elizabeth Hasselbeck is herself. Yeah, but
she was the worst.
Yeah, but it was like, they would just get like, if I was even dreaming of watching something to see what y'all were talking about, I don't even know what y'all talking about because all y'all doing is sitting there screaming at each other for like 15 minutes.
That's because they used to allow themselves to get wrapped up in their political views instead of on all types of news. Like they would just yell back and forth because she was a conservative and most of the other were like liberal Democrats, and they would just scream at each other. And unless Barbara Walters was there, it was just a shout fest.
Right. Yeah. And that's crazy. And any producer worth their salt would be sitting there like, they would have calmed that down eons ago. Like, yeah, I know it gets ratings, like in the sense of a story comes out about how they were shouting on each other on The View, but like on a day-to-day basis, nobody wants to see that. Like, chill out. Yeah.
So you ready to get into some sports?
Always, man. We got some stuff that kind of parallel to the talk. One of these is going to be a running segment, unfortunately, because it's every week. Well, let's get the important stuff first out the way. Cham, you been following the tournament? Actually,
I'm following it right now. Michigan and UCLA are playing, and Michigan is one of the number one seeds left, along with Baylor and with Gonzaga. And UCLA has been a bit of a Cinderella story. Like they were in the play-in game right before the 4 teams. What do they call that? I forgot what they call that. The Final Four, or what do they? I don't know what they call them. But UCLA was in the play-in game, and now we're in the Elite 8. They have upset everybody because they're an 11 seed, so they're the only Cinderella left. And so they are playing Michigan right now, and they are up by 4 at halftime.
Nice.
Gonzaga is still the only undefeated team in the NCAA. There's been a lot of conversation about that because of the conference that they're in. They haven't really played any like really good teams. So people are expecting that they were expecting that probably once they got to the Elite 8 that they would lose, but they did not. They beat Arkansas earlier today.
Nice.
But yeah, the Blue Bloods weren't in it. Most of the big names are gone. And we will be at the Final Four after tonight.
Now, a couple of surprise. So you talk about the Blue Bloods, right? And, you know, your Kentuckys, your Dukes, in your case.
Your Carolinas.
Carolina,
Kansas.
Yeah. Let's talk about Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about Michigan?
Well, you know how I feel about Michigan. I mean, that little thing stems back to the 90s when Michigan and Duke were somewhat out of conference rivals. And a lot of that came from the Fab Five thinking that, you know, Michigan, you know, Duke players were privileged. They weren't really, the black players on that team weren't really black. It was like a whole thing. Watch the Fab Five documentary on ESPN Plus, folks.
Actually, watch that for a whole bunch of reasons. It's spectacular.
Yeah. It was great. It was one of the best ones that they did.
It was.
And the Fab Five was for the culture. I mean, it really was. Like, I have a great deal of respect for that group of men because they went freshman and sophomore years back to back. They went to the title game. They played against Duke, and then they played against Carolina. The famous timeout by Chris Webber kind of crushed their hopes and dreams on that.
Yes.
But after that, though, Duke and Michigan was a yearly contest. And several years went by, and it was a great little rivalry between them. And then it stopped. And I think it was at Michigan's request. So, and I was telling Shaka earlier, now that they do the Big Ten ACC tournament, Duke never plays Michigan. They've played Indiana. They've played Illinois, but most frequently they play Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
So
you saying they're ducking them, Shay?
They absolutely are. And this year they should have played them because they would have gotten a W because Duke sucked. But I do, you know, although I have like a disdain kind of for Michigan, I actually want them to win because this will be a great story. You go from Fab Five,
absolutely,
to and Juwan Howard won an NBA championship with Miami Heat, right? As a player and a coach, I want to say.
He was basically a player coach,
right?
For at least one of them, but also as a player, yeah.
And then to bring Michigan back to prominence as their coach. I mean, this is full circle, like you wouldn't believe. Like, it'd be beautiful if they won. And also, I don't want Gonzaga to win because I'd just be like, you know. Yeah,
I mean, they're the most boring, like, important story ever.
Right.
Like that story should be getting way more like publicity, but no one cares.
Like, you're not the Hoosiers. Calm down.
Right. If Juwan Howard, I mean, no matter what he does, he's by all means, about any standard, has been an absolute success since he's become their coach. We talked about his little dust up with Maryland, but as you said, that's more so about Maryland than I think about him.
It was reactionary.
If you look at the Fab Five, or at least the big three out of them, Jalen Rose, who by all accounts is definitely a major personality at ESPN and ABC at this point. Matter of fact, he not only does the show, he has his own radio show and the show Jalen and Jacoby. So he's big. Then you have Chris Webber, who, again, you know, I would say, so if Van Gundy and Mark Jackson and all them are the A team, he's like the A-/B team in terms of basketball commentary.
But he's been ostracized from that group, from the Michigan group. They don't fuck with him.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about like their trajectory after.
Oh yeah,
no, you're right.
Course.
No, they don't rock with each other. No, and you know what's sad about that? After the Fab Five documentary, when all that stuff was kind of being talked about more, there seemed to be a moment when it looked like that relationship was gonna get healed, and I never heard anything about it again. And I guess it's just right back where it was.
They're pissed, specifically Jalen Rose. Like he is pissed because all of those wins that they had, those 2 tournament final championship game appearances, was all washed away. Yeah,
but it's just sad because I thought at the time like it got rehashed in the special, and I thought there was like some talks about them like getting together and talking through it, and you just never heard anything about it again.
Well, I think there's a video out there where Jalen Rose talks about how he actually tried to reach out to Chris Webber.
Yeah.
And that didn't go so well. If I find that, I'll send that to you too. But he, you know how Jalen Rose is. He don't bite his tongue for nothing.
He'll reach out to you on the low, and then you don't do it, and then he'll come on the show and tell everybody.
He talks trash
the next day.
All types of trash about Chris Webber.
Yeah, I tried to reach him yesterday, and he didn't do it. He's a coward. You know that.
Like literally.
Yeah, like whatever. Yeah, nah. So and then with Juwan Howard, so it's good to see them round out their careers post that. But it is a shame that they haven't been able to get along. But in general, look, I know going into the tourney, it's been disappointing in general. But have you enjoyed what you've seen?
Yeah, it's been very entertaining. I've liked the parody, and I know that's like a buzzword that they've been using the past few, but it's been true. Like, it's been exciting because teams that you did not expect to do so well have done well.
Cool.
And all of the game, there hasn't been like blowouts. Like Virginia went out in the first round. Didn't they just win the tournament like last year or 2 years ago or whatever? So like stuff like that happens and you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. Like, Sister Jean was out there with supporting the team. She's 104 years old. Like you like stories like that.
That's awesome.
So it's been very compelling in spite of the COVID thing. So yeah, it's been good. Now, the big news this morning was about the women's game, Connecticut and Baylor.
Can you talk about the women's tournament? I haven't paid nearly enough attention to it. It's my fault, but the highlights I've been seeing have been spectacular.
Oh, that tournament.
There's been controversy and all that.
Mm-hmm. So Paige
Paige
Buchers is a freshman point guard for UConn, and she's probably like the best freshman they've had in a long time. She's leading the team in all these categories. She's probably going to end up being like Big East Player of the Year. She's going to get a lot of accolades, and she does not disappoint. And the big matchup was between her and I believe an AAU teammate she had at Iowa, what they played in the round before. They smoked them. And then they played Baylor, who won the championship last year. The defending champion. So they actually beat Baylor by 2 points. And at the end of the game, 2 girls actually blocked Baylor's star player. One of them smacked her in the face and the other hit her on the arm. And you can see this on the video. It was a no call as she was going up shooting. It was probably about like a 10-footer. And they didn't call it. And the game ended that way. And what's interesting is LeBron James, even Gino Auriemma's daughter tweeted that was a foul. So
okay, I've seen the tweets about something was a foul. Okay, yeah.
So Gino Auriemma just came out like he does, and he's like, okay, so how many games did LeBron's team win off of a no call at the end? Like, you take the win when you get it. You don't sit here and be like, oh yeah, that was a foul, so I'm just gonna call the ref and tell him to take the game back. No, you don't do that. You play the next game. And basically he's like, does LeBron James call people and say, hey ref, give the other team the game because that was a foul at the end, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's true. I know, it's like, it's very true. Like, unfortunately, this is what happens.
The fact that he felt he needed to say that, though.
Well, because the reporter, they
brought it to him.
They brought it to his attention. Like, okay, LeBron James tweeted, your daughter tweeted. Like, people are saying that was a foul.
He and I would have to. She and I would have to.
Yeah, he gonna check her privately. He didn't bring.
Yeah.
he came for LeBron, but
what are you doing out here?
And then the head coach of Baylor, she was salty, as she should have been. She's like, I got a video right now. One girl smacking her on the arm and one smacking her in the face. So, but there's always controversy surrounding UConn because the train, they're going to say, oh, the UConn train is coming. They just wanted them to win. Whether that's, UConn hasn't won in like 3-4 years. So it's not like, they don't have the cachet that they used to have as far as I'm concerned. So, I mean, what would be the motivation for seeing to it that they win this year? So, especially when Baylor is your defending champion.
True.
So, but there's been a lot of controversy surrounding women's.
Every time I've been watching PTI a lot the last week and a half, and they were running a story about the women's tournament like a bad call or something, like damn near every day. So that's kind of been my flashpoint for it. Wow. Yeah, I'm still over his daughter tweeted. Like, look,
she was
I'm
like,
not trying to say you can't have I can't try to say you can't have your opinion, but you can't be tweeting out here.
You can't go
against my interests.
You're gonna go against the family.
Yes. Like, keep your opinions to yourself and tell your friends at maximum.
Nah, she went out there like, yo.
Are you tweeting? Like, we look dysfunctional right now. Like, stop.
Yeah, you probably was like, I'm gonna holler at her later.
Yeah, I'll definitely go holler at her about that. Wait a minute, she did what now? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna holler.
I always say, now what now?
Yeah, nah. Anyway, all right. Well, look, glad we were able to get a chuckle. Got some NFL news. Let's get this story out the way first because it's still unfolding and it is deep and we've been talking about it, but man, the more this kind of rolling out, we have to give coverage to it. Deshaun Watson, this story is not going away at all. And, Shan, we had Tim on, and even over the space of that short amount of time between when we had him on and now, the worm is starting to turn, even in my head, on Deshaun Watson. And I'm trying to guard against it because we've talked about this in the past with other celebrities when people make accusations. Accusations sound bad no matter what. And the person has a right to defend themselves. And Deshaun Watson has denied these accusations. So they are still accusations. But the more they flood in and the different directions and angles from which they flood in, man, it's tough. It is really tough. So we shared a story earlier that, so he's getting to, it's now up to like 16 people. The caveat is that most of the suits, all of the suits are under one attorney who is affiliated with the Houston Texans.
Tony Busby.
He knows the owner. Yeah, Busby. Yeah. So he's kind of shady. And, the logic is he's coordinating these stories to sound the same. That being said, when you keep hearing these stories over and over, and it's the same MO and damn near the same process and all that. But then what's been approaching damning to me has been reading independent stories of a woman today in SI who is not suing her. So addressing our concern, she ain't not trying to get money. She independently made these accusations and told her people about them before and said, I'm only talking now, kind of like we talked about Holly Robertson Pete, because the person is out here saying he didn't do it and saying he is respectful women and this or that. So this massage therapist basically came out and was like, look, I already talked to people about it. And the MO that I hear in these stories is basically what he did to me. What are your thoughts?
This is turning very Cosby-esque.
Yeah.
All we need is Hannibal Buress to come out here and just really put him on Front Street. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to think about this. So before, you know what I said last week about, I find it very interesting that they're all going civilly and there's no criminal charges and that. But this latest person, Mary, who has declined to be represented by Tony Busby, She is instead being represented by a civil rights attorney or getting counsel from that attorney. It doesn't say whether or not she has actually engaged him.
Right.
But I think when you have someone who's not looking to get something in return and is really just sharing this, you have to look at it a little differently. Like you said, she's not looking for anything. She's not looking for money. She actually may be looking to pursue a criminal case.
There it is.
If anything else. So that makes me think, okay, maybe this is way more serious than maybe we even thought before. So that's where I am. I just want to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
I do.
When somebody lays out chapter and verse for a magazine, and look, people lie about I find, people can lie about anything in any format. But when you see someone kind of lay out chapter and verse, not so much what people say, but what they do and the specifics about how their day went and even details that don't really affect the outcome, but it just shows you how vivid their memory of that day was. It hits home. It does. It's kind of all right, well, she remember everything that happened that day, doesn't she? And she remember the exact words and this and that. At minimum, I'm just going to jump out here and say this, and I know I jump out there sometimes, so why stop on 100? At minimum, I understand athletes get massages and need them, especially professional athletes, especially for muscle pain and stuff like that, tension. It does seem to me that Deshaun Watson has an inordinate amount of energy for getting a massage.
Yeah, he gets a lot of them.
Yeah, and
in various states.
Right, and it's one of those things okay, no matter how this turns out, Deshaun, a massage therapist is not that serious. And if it is, why don't you organize it through the team? Why don't you organize it in a fashion that doesn't seem like you're just out here? I mean, because all the stories sound the same. He called me and he hit me up on Messenger. He hit me up on this. He really needs it right now. He hooked it up through a third party. And it's okay. I'm not trying to even question what happened in it, but fam, you are Deshaun Watson. I think you can get these services done in such a way that you're not out here just flipping in white pages. Because some of these people he called me randomly. He saw an ad and called me. You know what I'm saying? It's fam, well, it's okay. You calm down. But it's all jokes aside, a lot of these allegations are very serious. It just breaks my heart. We spend a lot of time talking about how good Deshaun Watson is, and in a lot of ways too, how underappreciated he was in this league. And he just, no matter what, this is when we say this is not going to go away. Unfortunately, stuff like this. Well, if you're Ben Roethlisberger, you can outright rape somebody. And
apparently.
Continue with your career, but
you can do it more than once and then just write check.
But Deshaun Watson, as you will come quickly to find, you are not Ben Roethlisberger. He is white, and you are not, and you're going to find that out. I mean, not that he didn't know that, but that point is going to be driven home through this entire process. No matter what. Her
story is very compelling. Mary,
it is extremely compelling.
She said she said that he never really, asked her to do anything, but his behavior was just off-putting, thrusting into the air, ripping off. First of all, she does a sheet only massage, but he requested a towel. And so she found the largest towel she could find and he wrapped it around himself. But then she said 90 minutes into the massage, he just took the towel off and threw it on the floor, exposing his private area.
Yeah.
And then she continued. She said she thought it was weird, but then she continued to massage his quads and pelvis and abdomen, not his pelvis, but around. But she didn't
and glutes,
wherever, but not specifically that region. And then he just started thrusting in the air as if he was basically having sex without someone on top of him. And she asked him if he was okay. And then he was like, no, I'm fine. And he stopped. Mm-hmm. And then he did it again later. And then she was like, okay, calm down. Mm-hmm. But, you know, in her professional, being a professional, she thought to herself, okay, you know, sometimes an erection does happen when you touch certain areas. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna let it go. But once he started thrusting again, that's when she realized, okay, this is what it is. And so when she finished, you know, she left the room and then he gave her a hug. And he tried to like book her like 4 more times. And she was like, I'm not available. I'm not available. I'm not available.
And this is the part where it tells me, like, dude, when he tried to book her, he forgot that it was her.
Yeah.
That's just how much he wanted. Right. Yeah. Like because she was like, yo, does he even remember that this was me? And at one of the times she took a screenshot of their previous conversation in which she was like, it's me again. Mm-hmm. And she was like, look, man, I'm willing to come back if you like, you can't.
You have to do the full sheet.
Yeah, you have to do a full sheet and whatever. And he didn't like address it. He just didn't do it. He just didn't contact her. Again, I like the way the article was written very well. And she presented it very well in the sense that she said out the gate, he didn't do it. He didn't assault her. Like, she made that known, like you said, out the gate. He didn't assault me, but she said, I've done thousands of, hundreds. I think she said over 1,000.
She said thousands.
Yeah. And no one has ever acted like this.
Right.
She said, erection, like you said, erections happen. Stuff happens. Most of the time, the client's embarrassed because it happens. And I like how she said, because it's probably true. Yeah, like when it happens, like dudes like, oh crap. And so they like try to make small talk. Yeah, just stupid stuff. And she's like, he kind of didn't do that. But anyway, so yeah, he needs to get his defense together immediately and hope this gets resolved ASAP. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. Sham, you and I have 2 quick team notes. You got a new quarterback.
Yeah.
Why are you not excited? You're not feeling magic? You know, I could do it. I could let a show go.
Ah, boy.
I mean, so the Eagles have Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No, they don't.
I thought they do. Oh, no, I'm tripping. Ryan Fitzpatrick was somewhere else.
Yeah, he went to the Washington team. We talked about him last week with
Washington. Excuse me. I meant to put another quarterback in there.
We have Joe Flacco.
Yo, that was my screw up. I'm thinking I'm being clever. I knew I was going to troll about a quarterback. Nah, okay. How you feel about Joe
Flacco?
They said he's supposed to compete to start.
I felt nothing. Shit, I could compete to start. Nobody's a starter there.
Oh, Jalen Hurts. Why don't y'all just go ahead and get the job? I mean, make Flacco the backup.
I mean, everybody's the backup at this point. So
wow.
Matter of fact, why don't you go up there? Why don't you drive up to Philadelphia
and try out?
Drive up to the NovaCare Center and try out. Everybody has a chance.
I mean, if you tell me that I can get to go week 17 and get pulled out after complete the pass, I'll do it.
And that's the one thing that got updated today. There's going to be 17 games now, 1 less preseason game.
Good. Yeah, we'll need them. We'll need them all. We do need them, but we don't need all 4.
I think 17 is an odd number of games.
Yeah. Good update. So you're not excited about this at all?
Why would I be excited about Joe Flacco?
I mean, he can mentor the young man.
That's about all he could do. He can mentor him in the playoffs because that's when Joe Flacco seems to do well.
Yeah. So exactly. If y'all make the playoffs, then that's when he'll turn it on. We had some quarterback news. Marcus Mariota. The only significance about this, we went to that man. The Raiders went to that man and said, "You're owed $10 million this year. You need to go ahead and take a pay cut to $2 million." So I thought that was our way of like getting him out the door. How about he accepted a pay cut to 3.5?
I hate this dude.
Accepted it. Now, I think he threw in a poison pill like we can't just trade. He has no trade clause now. Something stupid like that. But he took a $6.5 million pay cut.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Like, dude, what are you doing? But the quarterback market dried up. But my point is, he could have went to y'all. He's better than
right. I'm
Flacco.
saying, I'm gonna take my talents to Philadelphia.
Right, he's better than Flacco. Yeah. So
I like Marcus Mariota.
I do too.
I think he got kind of a raw deal down there in Tennessee, only because he was, getting injured and he didn't really get a chance to get back out there.
Yeah, and I think we're screwing him. Honestly, I think that. Anyway, point being, I thought I was mad when we did that. Went to him to take the pay cut because I was like, "Yo, he's gonna leave based on that. Why are we doing that?" And then he stayed. So I'm like, "All right, well, we're still gonna whatever with Carr and Carr's fine, but you know what I'm saying." All right, NBA quick notes deadline. What we got? We had a couple trades.
A couple. It's a lot.
A lot. A lot. But I will say this though. Look, the big one's Drummond going to LA. That's a big one.
Was that a trade though, or did they buy him out?
I think the way it was, yes, I think it was a buyout, but I think it was packaged. It happened to trade deadline, so let's call it a trade. Oladipo getting shipped out of Houston.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that when that happened because I'm like, everybody says how good he is, but how come he's been on 3 different teams in the last year? I don't get
the injuries. That. Injuries play a big part. So he's never been able to contribute to the team to the extent that, and Houston's so bad. There's nothing he can do. But Sham, Houston is horrible. I do want to say this. Steven Silas, I'm going to say your name correct. Sham, I felt so bad. I've never felt as bad for somebody I didn't know because I disrespected. I disrespectful I've been to him on the show. They had lost 20 straight games. Okay, they've broken that streak. I don't know if you saw the video. He came out in the 20th game. He came out in the press conference, sat down, and immediately put his head in his hands for 20 seconds. And didn't take a question. And then when they asked him a question, he took another 15 seconds, kept his head in his hands.
That's ridiculous. And
I said to myself, the least I could do is on the Stop Playing podcast, call him by his given Christian name, Stephen, instead of Paul Silas's son or Paul Silas Jr., which is not his name. But yeah.
Yeah, they gave him a team and then left him with trash.
Yes, exactly.
I was a little shocked that JJ Redick got traded to the Mavs. I did not. I didn't understand it. I thought he was the perfect fit down there for them because they didn't really have a 3-point threat. But they got James Johnson and Wes Iwundo for him and some cash in a second round pick. I didn't understand that why they needed to ship him out, but that was strange.
Good for him though. Dallas is good.
Dallas is good, but so the Pelicans are rising. They're an exciting team.
But JJ getting a little long in the tooth, so
a couple
he probably is cool.
Disrespectful trades, I thought. The first one is Orlando shipping off Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets. Well, the Nuggets are good, so but that's not bad for Gordon. But I didn't realize the Magic were trying to blow up their team. I didn't understand this.
Yeah. Curious. Yeah. Curious.
That was a very random. I mean, maybe it's a cap issue. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the one that was even more disrespectful than that was the Clippers trading Lou Williams for Rajon Rondo. I'm like, yo, you got traded for a dude that doesn't even want to play half the time.
Yeah. Rajon Rondo is a whole clown. He's a clown. Now, I heard first taking all them try to defend this, and whatever. What they were saying was Rajon Rondo, when he's not a clown, is actually a good locker room guy and holds guys accountable.
Well, he's playoff Rondo, and that's fair. In the playoffs, he shows up.
And they're gearing up for that. And that was the Clippers' problem. Sham, what it made me think, and I don't know about you, that whole chicken fiasco, that must have cut deeper than it even looked on the surface.
Right.
Because that was a real bad PR look for him. And that might have reverberated in that organization deeper than like anyone imagined. Because he was a big part of that team. Exactly. He was a big part of that team. So maybe they just thought that was amongst other things that contributed to them losing, and they just were big mad. Mm-hmm. Sometimes these trades just happen when people just big mad. Just emotion. But yeah, Rondo's a clown. Like,
yeah, that was a disrespectful ass trade.
Yeah, it was.
So let's talk about the big thing they talked about this week. Blake Griffin goes to the Nets. He got bought out by Detroit a couple weeks ago, and then he got picked up by the Nets this week. And the narrative is that the Nets are trying to buy a championship.
Because who else they pick up? Aldridge.
Well, LaMarcus Aldridge. Like, I don't. I don't consider that.
But it feeds into what you're saying. Yeah, that they're just trying to orchestrate this super team or whatever.
They're the 99 Trailblazers.
Right. Or the 04 Lakers, you know. I mean, you had some good guys, but then you brought in some pieces,
including my guy. Gary Payton.
Yeah, I was about to say, including my man. He was definitely on his last time. But yeah, no. You said it a couple shows ago. The Nets are pacing the Kevin Durant return. And they're playing very well anyway. So if anything, they had to actually sit hard the other night when Kyrie took his, almost monthly sabbatical for a couple of days. And so Harden was playing so many minutes, and you and I talk about, we respect Harden in his minutes, that Steve Nash just sat him. I think a lot of this is also in kind of an offshoot of that, in the sense of, okay, let's bring all these other guys in. They're going to help us in the playoffs, but what they're also going to do is continue to pace us, so that we don't have to play Harden all the time. Kyrie's going to take 3 days off a month, and get these guys ingrained. And then when it all comes together, it all comes together. I mean, that's, it's disgusting how they're building this little mini fake super team. But I do think there's an element of that there. Yes.
And they needed a bench, because the bench got depleted when they traded for Harden. That's for sure. LaMarcus Aldridge hasn't shown me anything since he left Portland, and maybe this will be a rejuvenation for him. I think maybe playing under Pop just didn't suit his game, and his game didn't suit San Antonio. I don't even understand how he was there that long.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're going to get out of Blake Griffin, because he hasn't been himself in like 4 years. I think it's interesting that he's back reunited with DeAndre Jordan, and I think that they had a little bit of animosity over there in LA. But do you know who's on their coaching staff? This is kind of legendary.
And D'Antoni on there?
Yeah, so Steve Nash is the head coach. Obviously, Jacques Vaughn is an assistant. Mike D'Antoni is an assistant. Tiago Splitter is an assistant and player development coach. And
that I didn't know.
Amari Stoudemire is the player development assistant. Like, they are really
the whole Phoenix Suns.
The whole Phoenix Suns just like pieced together.
Hopefully they get a ring through the back door this time, instead of having to go up against San Antonio and get bodied.
Right. And one more thing after, before we move on to the next subject. So Al, what's his name that played for the Celtics?
Horford.
Al Horford. Do you know that he's sitting for the rest of the season in favor of the younger players on the team? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. So he's like a healthy scratch?
Yeah. So he got shut down by the Oklahoma City Thunder because they are focusing on developing young players. And he agreed to this.
Get his little bag. Guaranteed contracts in the NBA.
I mean, that's kind of, I've
never seen anything like that. Yeah.
And the NBA is the only place where age discrimination is not illegal.
How old is Horford?
34. He's not even 40.
I was about to say mid-30s, maybe.
He can't even cry age discrimination because he's not 40 yet. So
essentially, he's getting paid as a player to be a player coach. He's being paid to be a coach because he's clearly, mentoring them and stuff like that. But he gets to get a player salary. That's absurd.
If you can assume that, because that's not the impression that I got upon hearing this. Like, he ain't there to be, a player coach or anything. He just,
Oh, meaning I thought you meant, okay, because he's going to get his money. But you're saying he's not necessarily there to do any kind of work. He can just sit around and chill.
Yeah, they like, you old, so we just going to let these youngsters play. Like that kind of thing.
Horford strikes me. It's not like I know him or anything, but from what I see of him, I can see him like, hey, I want to kind of, contribute, talk to the young guys, whatever. But no, like not doing the actual work. Like he damn sure ain't gonna be sitting in nobody's film room, like breaking down plays and stuff. He gonna give pointers from the bench in a suit and then go out to the club after the game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But no,
that's crazy. I did not know that. No.
Yeah, that happened earlier this week. And, he and I joke about it, but he has said that he knew when he got there, he knew like the focus of the team and what they were going to do and what his role was going to be. And he has been a big influence on the younger players on the team. So he has 2 years and $53 million left on his contract.
That's a hell of a amount of money to pay somebody to sit on a bench and give pointers.
Pretty much.
To the young crowd. $53 million, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Buy him out. Like, why don't they just buy him out? Yeah, that's because he probably won't accept the buyout. Like, hey, man, y'all brought me here. I'm sitting there.
For all that, he could have just stayed in Boston.
Yeah, but then you got to do actual work and play. Ain't nobody trying to do that. These guys gave me a deal. I can sit here. I can shoot hoops in the house. No, but that is kind of crazy. Shem, we have a running segment every week, apparently. We may have another hit after the night, although they probably not on because of the tournament. So, okay. Candace Parker and Shaq.
Oh, gosh.
This Tuesday show is an absolute, problem for Shaq. They need to kick him off the show at this point. They should have been. He should never be on it, just like he should be on the TNT. The smoke for recently for the two of them is that they were having a segment about defense, and Candace Parker breaks down. I forget. It doesn't even matter what they were talking about, and she was talking about. And I think the graphic pulled up that she was Defensive Player of the Year, and Shaq was like, "Whoa, you were Defensive Player of the Year?"
Jesus
and
Christ.
Everybody on the set looking at him, and she looking at him like, "Yeah, like what are you talking about? Do you even know anything about my career? Like what? And she basically was like, yeah, you better check that. Like if you're talking about defense, like stop. Like I know way more than you about basketball. Essentially, like the only reason you're famous is because you're skilled that. It's because you're this big. Like you don't know about basketball, the nuts and bolts like I do. I was Defensive Player of the Year. But yeah, like everybody's sitting there like, yo, he gets embarrassed every week by her. Unintentionally. She's not. He's trying to he embarrasses himself when he talks to her. That was a new thing with Shaq and Candace Parker. Every week he does something stupid on the show. It's absolutely crazy. That's all I said again. Yeah. Just say. They're probably doing something tonight, but like I said, the tournament's on.
Look, man, Shaq has displayed all types of ignorance when it comes to people's careers. Like even during the All-Star game, Kenny Smith did a feature on Stephanie Reddy. Mm-hmm. Stephanie Reddy was the first female coach in the NBA head coach in the NBA because she coached a D League team. Stephanie Reddy also went to Coppin State and coached at Coppin State. And so she went from that. Now she's been working for TNT now for about 7 years. Kenny did a whole feature with her and some other female athletes or contributors to sports in a Zoom call during the All-Star game pre-show. And Shaq says after the whole montage, man, I've been working with her now for 7 years. I never even knew she was the first female coach in the NBA. So he sets himself up for this craziness.
Yeah. Even if you didn't know, why would you say it?
And I said that too. I was sitting there, I was like, why would you say that?
Like, I'd be ashamed, and hopefully that wouldn't come out in our conversation.
Right. I was like, Shaq just out here, just don't even care.
He don't care. It's like, if you don't care, then why should I get you off the show?
Yeah, man.
Now.
You just out here being ignorant. Like, I like some of the banter he has and some of the little comments he makes about the players and stuff, but now you just like, yo. Yeah, and you're glorifying the ignorance. Like, you just don't even,
Like, I liked it too at first. And ironically, he is on Chuck so much, but it's like, you think it's a Chuck thing where Chuck kind of like rolls around his ignorance, but no, it's different. You're not as funny as him, so stop.
No, and it's crazy because Chuck doesn't even try to be funny. He's just being Chuck. It's just Chuck being Chuck. And it's just funny. But like, Shaq, bro, you losing me. You really losing me.
Yeah.
I was watching the roast of Justin Bieber on Paramount Plus the other night. I heard all these many stories about that roast, specifically that one. And it didn't disappoint. It was very funny. And Shaq went to his little go-to line about having 4 rings. And I'm like, bruh, we know you got rings.
Wear the roast for Justin Bieber, bro. It's kind of like Jamie Foxx in that Community. Do you have any jokes for him? You know what I'm saying? Like whoever that guy was, it was Smith roast. It's like, wow, this is your conscience. What are you talking about? But yeah, hopefully they just kick Shaq off the show, and then Candace Parker gets somebody that she could talk to. Her and Dwayne Wade.
Or just have Candace Parker take Shaq's spot on the Thursday night show. Everybody.
That would be spectacular. I would love to see the table flip over when they made that decision. But all right, now look, as we wrap up, this is something. So, Draymond Green, another person who shouldn't be on the TNT side, my opinion. Sham, Draymond Green actually tried to engage. You and I talked about this earlier on the subject of equal pay for men and women's basketball specifically, and tried to dive into it. I actually do somewhat applaud his attempt to unpack the issue. He goes chapter and verse on social media about, what causes the discrepancies and what people should do about it. It's the what people should do about it that got him in trouble. And so I'm going to start by saying and turn over to you. At least, and my girl Maria Taylor said, look, I appreciate the effort in terms of at least opening up the conversation. So I'll give him that much credit. Everything else after that, he Draymond Greened it. He took that ball when it was the end of the game and tried to dribble and fell down. It dribbled off his foot and went out of bounds on this issue, in my opinion. What do you think?
Man, look, you already know I think Draymond Green is a whole tool out here. And to be fair, all of the women who responded thanked him for, saying what he said. Look, his position is that, look, things are based on revenue. If you earn revenue, you get more pay. Also, if y'all are out here, screaming and fussing about wanting equal pay, y'all need to do that same by going to these companies and going to these sponsors that's out here yelling for equal pay and making sure that they're not just yelling it and making sure they're doing the work instead of just talking about the work. So he's basically putting the onus on women to make sure that they take care of themselves in this situation. So it's your fault, basically, that you don't have equal pay.
Right. There it is.
And Megan Rapinoe was not so happy about that. And she went in on him. Like, she had multiple replies. And the sentiment that salaries are based on revenue, I mean, that's kind of the American way. That's how capitalism pretty much works in our society. So that part isn't wrong.
No.
However, in Megan Rapinoe's sport, there isn't a lot of revenue generated on American soil for that specific sport anyway. And I feel like with them, they outperform their male counterpoint counterpart all the time. Like the women's U.S. national soccer team is far better than the men's, and that is not even an argument. Like no self-respecting sports fan could ever argue that. So I think in their position, it's a little different because the way that the men are paid versus the way they are paid and the success that they get, they should definitely get equal pay. Their sport the revenue isn't generated in a way that the NBA is, or even the NFL or any of the major men's sports. I think a lot of people were trying to drag in like the WNBA and other, like, well, how about, those two merge and then everybody gets paid equally and then the men give up money. No, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think for U.S. women's soccer, it is definitely needed. However, tennis was able to do it. They did it.
Absolutely.
So that's a model that they could try to follow. But I think, and this is another thing that Megan Rapinoe said, like everything is run by men. And it's a system where men could get other men to support the women. And if all of them are speaking together, this is how things get influenced to get better. Like, I feel like the reason it worked in tennis is because men weren't out here like saying, oh no, this shouldn't happen. They were actually supporting it. And it actually happened because they had the support. It wasn't like the male tennis players were like, oh, well, you're on your own with that.
Right.
So they need to be allies for the women instead of telling them, well, basically it's your fault that you're not getting it.
Yeah. And they basically said, that's what they said to him. Mm-hmm. And everything you just said. And I think that one of the things he also said was, okay, well, not only do women have to speak up to the corporate sponsors or whatever, but he was like, he made a point, and it was dangerously close to a point that you and I talked about before on the show. He was like, do you guys play up the storylines and like, the narratives and all this stuff?
He wanted them to over dramatize it.
And it was close, but not a cigar, because I was like, man, am I sounding like Draymond Green? But I remember on this podcast, I said, men or women, your sport, people will not care about it unless they care about like the people within it. And I was just basically saying the storylines are there. They just need to be trumpeted. I didn't say, matter of fact, I believe my exact words were the players try to trumpet it. The sport needs to trumpet it.
Right.
And I said, the players will get it out there. That's why you brought up tennis. That's why tennis is compelling. The Williams sisters, the things they had to go through, the hate they were getting, this and that. And then the comparisons, horrible, with people just not as good as them, like Sharapova and all that kind of stuff. That's compelling. That's drama. So then by the time that match starts, everybody's watching, whether they're interested in tennis as a whole or not. The U.S. women's soccer team, the fact that they were so good and had all these personalities, that people watched that team. Megan Rapinoe is a personality. Mia Hamm before that, and I know I'm jumping a lot of places. There have been many soccer players in between. Hope Solo, all these people. I know these people. You couldn't get me to name 5 people on the U.S. men's soccer team. You couldn't get me to name them. And Draymond Green was making it sound like the women weren't doing enough to like push their narrative.
Yeah, he was making their cause sound small.
Right, and he was like, "You got to push up narratives so make people care about it."
No, you need to pay attention. She was literally in front of Congress like 3 days ago. What are you talking about?
Dude, what are you talking about? Like, your heart was in the, I guess, right place. But like, that's why I likened it to, hey, man, you think you're going to win the game, but you're not good enough to do that. Like, don't take the ball, dribble off your foot, and go out of bounds, and then look at everybody and get mad at everybody for getting mad at you. Like, you're not built for that.
Man.
So, yeah, it's just, but I do like that it opened up the conversation. Again.
Michigan about to lose.
Yeah, I'm watching it. Yeah.
Whoa, UCLA. Whoa.
Yeah. It's big. It's big. big deal. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, we're watching that last this potential huge upset, guys. 50 to 49
UCLA is
with
out here to get everybody.
50 to 49 with what? 13 seconds left? Is what the commercial?
19 seconds, it looked like. And I think Gonzaga beat USC. I don't know if I said that, but I think so.
You did earlier.
Okay, I thought I said another team, but
okay. I know you said they won earlier. Yeah, I don't remember what you said. Yeah. They're the again, least interesting, actually pretty major damn story.
Wow, look, the students are praying.
Yeah, I see all that. I mean, yeah, college sports.
Where's Dominic?
Oh yeah. He's gonna be. We'll see him in a few minutes for good or for ill. He's one of those people. Our friend is one of those people who he'll get on there and he'll either tell everybody they should be fired or say he called it.
The trash.
Yeah. Oh, there's Jalen Rose.
I like that.
Yep. They just showed him.
And that's his sister.
Yeah, and I don't know if the mask is hiding, but she looks pretty fine. Is she old enough for me to say that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hey, look, I don't want to get sued out here in the 100th episode, man. Let me make sure.
She's not 17.
Yeah. I was like, that was one of those things. As soon as those words left my lips, I was like, oh, if I could pull words back physically.
So Michigan has the ball with 19 seconds left. Let's see how 19.8.
19.8.
Wow.
Yeah, play this out. Okay, you're ahead of me. I already know it. Okay, you just saying stuff now. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. It's not looking good.
No, it's not looking good.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what is looking good. The future of this podcast. And I'm very excited about it. Episode 100. Now, this one is a supersized episode for sure.
How long is it? A long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 hours. But
all right.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
I call myself cutting some stuff off.
Look, it's episode 100. So we got to just pile everything in there.
Exactly. They won't, guys, we promise they won't be getting longer. They won't. I know it seems like they have, but we are going to contract it back.
This is the longest one yet.
It really is, but we're going to contract it back.
Thank you guys for tuning in and bearing with us for this supersized episode. It's been a great 100 and we look forward to having thousands more.
Yes.
So if you're listening, thank you so much. Tell a friend, make sure they check us out on www.stopplayingpodcast.com and then scroll to the bottom and you'll see all the podcast platforms we're available on. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. We thank you very much for that. Also on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our host Podbean. And check us out on our social media at Facebook and Instagram at Stop Playing Podcast, Twitter at Stop_Playing Pod, and on our YouTube channel at Stop Playing Podcast. And like we always say, keep your chips on the plate. No double dipping unless it's this podcast. And we'll talk to you again real soon.
Stop playing.